Welcome, everyone. We're going to call the May 12th regular meeting of Council to order at 6 o'clock p.m. Before we get started, I'll call for disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, their first order of business tonight is an exciting one. We get to recognize a couple of local athletes for the Athletic Achievement of Excellence Plaque. So tonight with us, we have Kayson, Stewart, and Mason Morris, who I'll ask to come up to the lectern here. They're being recognized as they won the Provincial Youth Bowling Championships, and this week competed in the National Youth Bowling Championships in Edmonton, representing Ingersoll. So we're happy to recognize their efforts tonight. If they could come up, we will get them their plaques. Sorry, before you go, everyone's wondering how you did at Nationals. Thank you. I'm just going to repeat it because if folks are at home, they may not have been able to hear what you said, and we want people to be able to know. So I heard you got 5th place in the team placement, which is great. You played 21 games. Mason was the highest average bowler. Oh, Kayson, sorry. Kayson was the highest average bowler, and your team had the highest pins. So well done. We're really happy to be able to recognize your efforts in representing Ingersoll. So congratulations. Of course, thanks for coming. With that, I'll just call on Councillor Hughes for the consent agenda to be adopted.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Helleroo, that the items contained in the May 12, 2025 consent agenda be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's passed. And the next, I'll call on Councillor Helleroo for the April 14th regular minutes to be adopted.
Thank you. Through you. Moved by myself, Councillor Helleroo, seconded by Councillor Beckman and Bostons, that the minutes of the April 14th, 2025 regular meeting of Council be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? None opposed, that's carried. And Councillor Van Kooten-Bostons for the April 30th special minutes to be adopted.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the minutes of the April 30th, 2025 special meeting of Council be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Next, we're moving on to some delegations and presentations. Today, we have a group of students joining us from St. Jude's Catholic School. We have Alessandra, Jacob, Ava, Abigail, and Carter. They have been working in Mr. Bowles' class to do some turtle protectors. So they will be telling us about their project. So whenever you're ready, feel free to come up to the lectern here. Welcome.
No, wait.
So before you get started, I'll just let you know, are you taking turns speaking?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just remind you that unless you speak into the microphone, the people watching on live stream won't be able to hear you. So as you're taking turns, just come up to the microphone. So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Ingersoll Town Council, thank you for allowing us to talk to you about our turtle project today. We are a class of 23 students from St. Jude's Catholic Elementary School working with the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority studying conservation efforts.
Today we are here because globally, turtles and snakes are declining at an alarming rate. In Ontario, 7 of our 8 native turtle species have been listed as at risk. 6 of these turtle species, as well as the more commonly found Midland painted turtle, are found in the Upper Thames River watershed. We want to help turtles in our town and protect their habitats.
We are serving the town of Ingersoll to protect baby turtles from predators and other environmental risks so that baby turtles can live and not put their species at risk as they develop.
What are we doing? We are making an evidence-based device called a turtle box to help local baby turtles to survive from predators while they are waiting to hatch. Making this will have no cost to Ingersoll.
We are here helping Ingersoll by reducing the mortality rate in baby turtles and giving them a chance to live and to also bring up the population of turtles in our area. Now is the time to bring up any questions and concerns about our project. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Any questions of council for the students? Councillor Halleru.
Awesome presentation. So how do you discover the areas in which the eggs are hatching?
Normally, we're hoping to get people call into the town of Ingersoll and say they might find certain eggs in certain areas, and hopefully you guys can distribute them in areas that you guys need to be.
Also, most turtles in Ingersoll are around wetlands. So when we're working with, we're doing a program called Green Leaders, and we have someone named Brad come in and help us. We talk about wetlands, and we found that most turtles are around wetlands in Ingersoll.
Thank you. Any further questions of the students from council? Thank you sorry, Councillor Van Koop-Bassens.
It's not a question. Congratulations and job well done. It's not easy to get up in front of all these people and be on camera, and you did a great job. I want you to all know that. Thank you for what you're doing. I didn't realize what was going on with our turtles, and I'm not afraid about the snakes. I'll be honest, I'm okay if the snakes don't live, but turtles are pretty cool, and I'm glad that you're doing what you can to help them survive, and hopefully we can do whatever we can to help you out that way, but I think working with the Upper Thames is the way to do it, and you guys will figure out where all those baby turtles are, and we'll do what we can to help you get that all protected. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and again, thank you for giving us your time to present our idea. We hope you enjoyed our presentation about the St. Jude's Turtle Project. We hope you have a great night and drive safely.
Thank you very much. Now I will call on Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the delegation from St. Jude's students Alessandra, Jacob, Ava, Abigail, and Carter regarding the Turtle Project as information.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed? That's carried. We are moving on to our next presentation from Paradigm Transportation. We have Erica Bailey joining us by Zoom, I believe.
Hello, can everyone see and hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Great, thank you so much. As it was said, I'm Erica Bailey, a senior project manager with Paradigm Transportation, and I'm here today to talk about kind of the final phase of the downtown parking study. I have a presentation here. Let's see if I can get this shared. Okay, it looks like that's up.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So as I said, Erica Bailey with Paradigm, talking about downtown parking study, and this is the presentation of our final report to council. So as a reminder, as a refresher, the purpose of the downtown parking study was to quantify the existing on and off-street parking supply downtown, conduct parking utilization surveys, assess the adequacy of the existing parking supply, estimate future parking demands, and develop reasonable, practical, and feasible parking management strategies. And another refresher, this was our study area. You can see we have on-street parking, municipal, and private lots noted, bound by King Street on the south, Mill Street to the east, Oxford to the west, and St. Andrew to the north. And here is the progression of our study. We started last spring with background research. We did a comprehensive data collection program, including parking surveys in June. We had a community and stakeholder engagement program that ran, the first phases ran through last summer. And from that, we had data analysis and forecasting, future strategy review. We developed a draft report and recommendations, and we presented those to council on March 3rd, I think is the date. From that, we opened a survey for public feedback, and now after receiving the public feedback, we're here today presenting the updates that have occurred based on that public feedback for council's review. So the last time you saw us, as I said, was March 3rd, where we presented our draft recommendations. We presented a summary of the data collection that we did last spring, including the demand and duration. We provided a summary of the engagement, including the online survey, the engagement at Pizza Fest, and our in-person meetings with staff and the BIA, and then presented our draft short, medium, and long-term strategies for comment. So since then, after that meeting at the start of March, we posted an online survey for the public to provide their comments and reactions to the draft recommendations. And through that survey, we collected 118 responses. The survey the survey included all of the recommendations, and those filling out the survey could choose if they agreed or disagreed or were neutral on each recommendation, and then also list the recommendations in terms of how they felt which were bigger priorities than others. We also had a meeting with Mayor Petrie and staff, and now we have an updated report to reflect the feedback that we received from council and the public feedback through the survey. So based on the survey and the 118 responses that we received, these are the reactions to the short-term strategies. So for optimized supply and increase in efficiency, we had identify opportunities to reduce wasted space in existing and on-street lots and improve lot design. And overall, there was good agreement for this one. The next one, adjust the time restriction on Thames Street to 1 hour and the public library lot to 2 hours. And this one had Mixed response. It was about half and half agree and disagree. So this one deserved a bit more investigation, which you'll see later on in the presentation. Next, we had implement emergency call boxes and street lightings in underutilized lots. And generally this, people were in agreement with this one. And we had review enforcement efforts and education opportunities with stakeholders, consideration for additional efforts during peak season. Again, this was generally, the public agreed with this. Inventory existing parking wayfinding system to identify gaps. Municipal signage should include maps identifying pedestrian links to encourage park once trips and promote walking. Again, this had good support. And wrapping up our short-term strategies, providing secure bike parking and install additional bike racks throughout downtown. And this also had good agreement from the survey responses. Moving into medium-term strategies, consider allocating employee parking in peripheral lots and consider prohibiting employees from parking within prime on-street parking spaces. This also had good agreement, this will come up again later on in the presentation. Strengthen pedestrian connections from underused parking lots, such as the public post office lot and the St. Andrew lot, to adjacent streets with painted walkways. This had good agreement. Expand the parking supply by identifying public-private partnership opportunities to expand supply or dedicate a portion of new parking to public use. This had good agreement. Work with private landowners to identify available supply that could be used during peak periods or special events. Also good agreement. Continue to promote active transportation through bicycle and pedestrian connections was also generally agreed with. And finally, for long-term strategies, support regional initiatives to have intercommunity transit. And this also had good agreement. So as you can see, the one recommendation that had mixed review was changing the times, making it shorter parking on 10th Street and longer in the library lot. We also had, when we presented to council in March, there was comments on digging a little deeper into a permit parking strategy, determining the suitability of the existing permitting strategy, providing more permit parking, especially for business owners and, and residents downtown. So since March, we've dug a bit deeper into permit parking, as I said, based on feedback from council and the public. We did a background review on similarly sized developments. And we found that the existing system within Ingersoll is consistent with other cities, but many other cities have a more expanded program. They have a tiered system and digital tools. So through the survey, because there was also an opportunity to provide comment within the survey, there was support for a system that include fair allocation to residents and businesses, employee access to less central lots, clear short-term and long-term distinction, and improved digital tools and communication. Through this review, we developed a bit of a framework for development of a policy for permitting. And this is all included in our updated report. And from this, we have updated the recommendations that I just went through. We've added 2 new recommendations, one for short-term and one for medium-term. Whoops. Sorry about that. Just give me a second. There we go. Let's try that again. Okay, can everyone see that again?
Yep, you're good.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. So for the updated recommendation, we've added a new short-term recommendation, and this is to convert 9 spaces within the address 4 to 8 Market Lane lot, and you can see it on the map here. I put the little red bar there. Convert these 2 permit parking spaces with priority given to business owners and residents along 10th Street to purchase these. We had with staff, we found that these business owners and residents will really benefit from having spaces close to their property, for ease of delivery, ease of access, etc. So in the short term, to convert 9 of those to kind of serve the existing demand for permit spaces. We left in, and it's important to note here, the recommendation that had mixed review about 10th Street and the library lot. We left that recommendation in, because reducing this, because all of this kind of permit discussion, talking about employee parking, talking about permit parking, it's all a whole system that needs to work together. Giving people options to be able to park all day, that facilitate their needs. So for residents and business owners to be able to park near their businesses and be able to park for the whole day can be served by these permit spaces that we're suggesting. But for employees, if the time, for example, along 10th Street is reduced, employees are less likely to park as the risk of getting a ticket is higher. So to make the choice to park in the existing all-day lots, and the lots that are perhaps a little bit farther away, to leave those high-demand spots for the visitors and ensure regular turnover of those spots. And having the employees park in the all-day lots, be encouraged to park in the all-day lots, is also supported by the other recommendations of improving things like the lighting and the pedestrian connections from those lots, so that it's safer and easier to get to their job, perhaps along 10th Street. And we also added a medium-term recommendation, which is to develop a comprehensive permit policy that supports business owners, residents, and employees of the downtown area. And as I said, details for the framework are included in more details in section 6.3 of the updated report. And then for next steps, I'm happy to answer any questions now for anyone who's at the council meeting, and then for council to receive the final report and direct staff on recommendations. Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation. Any questions of council? Yes, Councillor Hughes.
Just one question, and I directed to staff or directed to the presenter. Now, in our agenda package, item number 2, the Paradigm Transportation Parking Study. What was attached to our agenda was the draft study that was, or sorry, draft presentation that was given to us back, I believe, in March, as she stated. How come we don't have, because I'm completely unprepared to see the final to have any questions. So I was wondering why that wouldn't have been included in our package as opposed to just seeing it fresh today.
Sorry, are you talking about are you referring to the presentation? Oh,
Yes, so
apologies.
this presentation that we just seen.
It'll be attached to the minutes. We didn't receive it in time to attach to the agenda, unfortunately. Yeah.
Erica, did you have anything further to add to that?
No, in the, yes, sorry. Once you have a chance to see the updated report, I have highlighted the new additions to make it easier to review. So anything highlighted in yellow is new compared to the draft report that you would have seen at the start of March.
Thank you for clarifying that. Councillor Van Gouten-Bossens?
I went ahead and looked at what the motion is, and it's to receive it as information in the final report. So can I ask staff, is there a final report coming back from staff with what staff will be recommending from this report that Paradigm has given to us?
No, you're not putting me on the spot at all. Sorry, just with the timeline figured allows council to really receive all of this with the updates, the presentation. We can then bring back kind of a summary Obviously, it's difficult to adopt everything within the report without having timelines, costing, there's capital budget implications in here. So really the recommendation is to receive it and then we can bring forward further information looking at how we implement.
Thank you. Councillor Halleru?
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor. So just to be clear, I was going through and I noticed the yellow. Are you saying that that was part of the updates that you just showed us? Because that's what I assumed.
Yes, that's correct. The recommendations that we presented on March 3rd, from there, we did the survey, met with staff, did a bit more work, especially on permitting. We updated the report, and the items in yellow are what we've updated since March based on the survey feedback and council comment and staff comment.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, Councillor Hudson?
Thank you. Through you, moved by myself, Councillor Hudson, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive Paradigm Transportation's draft parking study report as information, and that Council direct that the final report be brought back for consideration.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much, Erica. Moving on to special staff reports, we have CP 2025-117, and I believe we're going to put it right to Heather to get us started.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I don't know, is it beneficial for council to see the plates in the staff report? Is that, if not, that's okay, we can continue. Okay.
Council, do you need the plates or can you see them on your laptops?
I can see them on my laptop.
Perfect, thank you.
Will the public want to see them as she's talking about them?
Okay, thank you. So the first application we have on tonight's agenda is an application for official plan amendment and zone change, as council may recall, from the public meeting held in April. And this application has been requested to redesignate the subject lands, which are located at 169 Charles Street East, from low-density residential to medium-density residential, and to rezone them from a special R2-26 to a special R3 zoning. And a number of site-specific provisions have been requested to facilitate the proposal, which would include the replacement of an existing fourplex on the subject lands with 2 new fourplex structures for a total of 8 new residential dwellings, all served by a shared parking area containing 13 regular parking spaces and 1 barrier-free space. So the subject lands are approximately 0.43 acres in size, with approximately 30 meters or 98 feet of frontage on Charles Street East, and an approximate depth of 57 meters or 187 feet. And the rear portion of the subject lands, as shown in Plate 2 by the dotted line, is regulated by the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority due to the presence of an erosion hazard associated with the Thames River Valley lands. And the applicant has provided a slope stability study to assess the location and condition of this erosion hazard area in order to determine the long-term stability of the slope and to confirm that all development would be located outside of this hazard area. So a number of site-specific provisions to the R3 zone have been requested to facilitate the proposal, including a reduction to the minimum required front yard depth from 7.5 meters to 5 meters, a reduction to the minimum required interior side yard width from 4 meters to 1.8 meters, a reduction to the minimum required setback to the center line of the county road from 20.5 meters to 9.8 meters, and an amendment to the maximum permitted height from 11 meters to 12 meters has also been requested to facilitate the proposed design. Planning staff have reviewed the proposal under the policy direction from the provincial planning statement and are generally satisfied that it is in keeping with this policy direction. Staff are satisfied that the proposal will aid in providing additional housing options for the town, and are of the opinion that the proposed development represents appropriate residential intensification that will result in a net increase in residential dwelling units while promoting densities that efficiently use land, resources, infrastructure, and public service facilities within the town. With respect to the official plan policies, the proposal will result in a mixing of densities within the area and an increased range of tenure options to aid in the supply of rental housing and can be considered appropriate intensification for the subject lands. The proposal would be considered a form of street-oriented infill development, and the official plan does outline a number of design criteria that council is to consider to ensure that infill projects are sensitive to the existing streetscapes. Firstly, the official plan provides that infill development is to be consistent with the street frontage, lot area, setbacks, and spacing of existing development within the area, and that the height, bulk, scale, and layout would be consistent with the existing present land uses in the area. In this instance, the applicant is proposing new multiple unit dwellings consisting of the 2 fourplexes, which staff do recognize would vary somewhat from the existing development in the immediate area, which is largely comprised of single detached dwellings which were constructed in the early 1900s. But staff are of the opinion that the proposal will not result in a significant deviation from what would currently be permitted in the zoning bylaw on the subject lands today, which would include fourplexes under the low density policies of the official plan. Further, while a request has been made to reduce the front yard depth and the setback to the center line of the county road, the proposed front yard setbacks will still be greater than many of the existing dwellings along Charles Street East, as many of these dwellings were constructed before the implementations of the current zoning bylaw requirements. The applicant is also requesting a reduction to that minimum interior side yard width from 4 meters to 1.8 meters. And staff are generally satisfied that this proposed reduction will continue to provide for sufficient space for construction excavation and property maintenance. And as you can see from plate 3 on the staff report, will still allow for rear yard access through the center of the property. With respect to height, staff are of the opinion that the proposed increase from 11 meters or 36.1 feet, which is currently permitted in the R2 zone, to the proposed 12 meters or 39 feet can be considered a minor increase that will not have a significant impact beyond what could reasonably be expected from a compliant development. The applicant has indicated that this increase is required to provide for additional ceiling height in the basement dwelling units, and it is noted that depending on the portion of the basement dwelling that's above grade, this may result in an additional story being considered for the purpose of the definition in the zoning bylaw. However, staff are of the opinion that the minor increase in height from 11 meters to 12 meters to permit this ceiling height can be considered minor and is not anticipated to have adverse impact on adjacent land uses beyond what would be currently permitted in the bylaw. So as such, staff are recommending that an amending zoning bylaw permit multiple unit dwellings up to 4 stories to a maximum of 12 meters in height. So overall, staff are of the opinion that the proposal is largely in keeping with the general development guidelines currently permitted under the low-density residential policy framework and the existing R2 zoning, while providing an opportunity to add to the town's rental unit inventory. Town engineering staff have not identified any concerns with respect to negative impacts on traffic, and detailed design matters will be addressed through the site plan approval stage, which would include review of stormwater management to ensure that it is appropriately addressed and that there will be no negative impacts on adjacent land uses. It is noted that there is a rail line to the north of the subject lands, but with respect to this rail line, the proposed development will be located no closer to the rail line than the existing development in the area, and therefore complies with the direction of the policies, and no noise studies were required in this instance. A petition was received with approximately 16 signatures in opposition to the proposal, and a number of comments from neighboring property owners were received as part of our public notification process. The main concerns were with respect to loss of privacy and increased nuisance complaints with respect to noise and garbage storage. Planning staff have noted these concerns and will ensure that if approved, the subsequent site plan approval process will include considerations for fencing and garbage storage, and noise issues would be subject to the town's noise bylaw. One concern was raised with respect to evictions that would result with the removal of the existing structure, and while staff do recognize that this is an undesirable consequence of the proposed development, the eviction process would be outside of the scope of the Planning Act and subject to the Residential Tenancies Act. And overall, it is noted that the proposed development would result in a net overall increase for the number of units available for rent in town, and the applicant has indicated that they do have other available rental units that could potentially provide housing for their existing tenants. So overall, staff are of the opinion that the proposed development will provide for additional rental options within the town, which is a priority objective of the province. And the applications propose only minor deviations from the current development standards to accommodate the proposed development. And staff are satisfied that there's sufficient space on the property to accommodate for parking and stormwater management. And we are recommending that Town Council approve the requested rezoning in principle and advise Oxford County Council that you are supportive of the proposed official plan amendments. Thanks. I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the report? Councillor Hughes? You may not. This is not a public meeting, so unfortunately, only council is permitted to speak. Councillor Hughes?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor. To Heather, has the proponent suggested a timeline on the removal and rebuilding of the housing?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, no, they have not. The development would be subject to the town site plan control process, so if approved, there would be some timelines that would need to be factored in there. But aside from that, development is proponent driven, so it would be up to them to set their schedule.
Any further questions of the report? Seeing none. Councillor Hughes, you have the motion.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Hellerue, that the Council of the Town of Ingersoll receive report number 2025-117, and that the Council of the Town of Ingersoll advise County of Oxford Council that the town supports the official plan amendment application, file number OP 24-13-6, as submitted by 1555-9367 Canada Inc., to redesignate the subject lands from low-density residential to medium-density residential, to permit the development of 2 new multiple-unit dwellings consisting of 4 units each, for a total of 8 new dwelling units on the subject land. And further, that the Council of the Town of Ingersoll approve in principle the zone change application, file number ZN 6-24-06, as submitted by 1555-9367 Canada Inc., to rezone the subject lands for special residential type 2 zone R2-26 to special residential type 3 zone R3-SP, to permit the development of the proposed multiple unit dwelling with a reduction in the required front yard depth setback to center line of an arterial road, interior side width, and the height of 4 stories to a maximum of 12 meters or 39.5 feet.
Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion?
There we go. Sorry, my microphone turned off. And for anyone who believes they are at risk of eviction, there's a housing stability program that serves Oxford County that can support tenants through that process, not just these tenants, but any tenants in general. So I would encourage anybody to access those resources. They're free resources to support you, to make sure you understand any of those obligations. So that's at the Oxford County Community Health Center. Anyone can access those resources. But I also wanted to mention that despite those challenges, for me, this is the type of development that Ingersoll does need. There's a huge lack of rental properties that continue to increase the rent across the community. So I recognize the challenges of the people in that neighborhood, but on the whole, adding these units to the rental market, I hope is a positive outcome for the community in the long run. With that, I will call the vote. All in favor? None opposed? That's carried. So we're moving on to the next report, which is CP 2025-138. Heather, I will put it back to you, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, so the next applications are also for official plan amendment and zone change, and they have been requested, thank you, Daniel, to facilitate the construction of a new 5-story 49-unit apartment building on the subject lands with a number of requested site-specific zoning provisions to facilitate the proposal, including a reduction to the minimum required lot area per unit from 110 square meters to 97.7 square meters, a reduction from the minimum required amenity space per unit from 40 square meters to 19.5 square meters, relief from the provisions of 9.2.1 as no children's play area is proposed, and relief from the provisions of Section 519 to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 85 to 79. The subject lands are approximately 1.2 acres in size, with approximately 60 meters or 196 feet of frontage on Bell Street, and the subject lands are located on the north side of Bell Street between Scourfield Drive and McKeon Street and are currently vacant, with a single detached dwelling having been recently removed. Surrounding land uses do consist of single detached dwellings to the north along Scourfield Drive, an eating establishment, Louis Restaurant to the west, residential uses to the south, and lands designated service commercial to the southeast and the southwest and east. Planning staff have reviewed the applications under the policy direction from the provincial planning statement and are of the opinion that the application is consistent with this policy criteria. With respect to the PPS, staff are satisfied that the proposal will aid in providing additional housing options for the town, which, as noted previously, is a provincial priority. And the proposal represents appropriate intensification that will promote increased densities that will efficiently use land, resources, infrastructure, and public service facilities within the town. With respect to the official plan policies, as noted, the subject lands, as well as much of the lands along the frontage of Bell Street, are currently designated as service commercial, which is intended to facilitate a broad range of large-scale commercial uses that require large lot areas and cater to vehicle traffic. And an amendment to this policy designation has been requested to redesignate the subject lands to high-density residential to facilitate the proposed apartment building. As noted in the staff report, while the official plan does provide that high-density residential development is generally discouraged adjacent to low-density residential uses, planning staff are of the opinion that in this instance, the proposed apartment building will result in less of an overall impact on the neighboring land uses than what would currently be permitted on the subject lands in accordance with the current service commercial designation and the highway commercial zoning. The current designation and zoning would permit a wide range of large-scale commercial uses, which would include an animal kennel, car dealerships and public garages, farm implement dealerships, car washes, and hotels with a maximum of 6 stories in height, which would have a greater impact on the neighboring residential uses than the proposed apartment building, which is being proposed at 5 stories in height. The current official plan also typically encourages high-density residential development to be located within the downtown core area. However, this is somewhat of an outdated policy that is not in line with the provincial direction that has had the result of limiting apartment development within the town. As additional high-density residential development would be beneficial to the overall rental supply within the town, staff are supportive of the requested amendment. And note that the proposal does meet the additional locational criteria provided in the official plan, as the subject lands are located on an arterial road and are within a reasonable walking distance to the downtown core. Further, the subject lands are sufficiently large enough to accommodate the proposed development and will provide for a sufficient rear yard of 33.4 meters, whereas 7.5 meters is the rear yard requirement in the R4 zone. This will allow for an increased setback and buffering from the single detached dwellings to the north. And the proposal does fall within the mid-range density allowance at 98 units per hectare in the official plan, which generally permits 111 units per hectare in the high-density designation. County and town engineering staff have also indicated no concerns with the proposal from a traffic perspective. However, staff have commented that a traffic impact study will be required during site plan stage to determine if any improvements to the road network would be required to accommodate the proposed development. And County Public Works staff have also indicated that they have no concerns with the proposal from a servicing perspective, but as it would be up to the applicant to provide a functional servicing report to demonstrate that the servicing needs for the development can be accommodated. The application for zone change does propose to rezone the subject lands from highway commercial to a special R4 zone with a number of site-specific development amendments as noted. The applicant has requested a reduction to the required parking of the zoning bylaw from 85 spaces to 79 spaces, which would consist of 69 regular parking spaces, whereas 74 are typically required, and 7 visitor spaces, whereas 8 are typically required. And no relief has been sought for the minimum barrier-free parking requirements. So this would result in a reduction from the typical parking requirements of the zoning bylaw from 1.5 spaces per unit to 1.4 spaces per unit, and a reduction of 1 space to the visitor parking inventory. So for council's information, this year, town and county planning staff have undertaken a detailed review of parking rates for comparable municipalities throughout Southern Ontario, and staff are generally satisfied that the proposed 1.4 spaces per unit is consistent with commensurate municipalities' parking standards and will be sufficient to accommodate the proposed development. And staff are generally satisfied that this requested reduction can be considered minor and will not result in any off-site impacts with respect to parking. With respect to the request for the reduction to the required amenity space and relief from the requirement for the children's play area, staff are of the opinion that this request can be considered appropriate in this instance. The intent of these provisions is to ensure that residents are provided with sufficient green space and amenity area to provide for a quality residential environment. And in this instance, the proposed development will provide for the necessary landscaped open space, which will aid in contributing to this overall intent. And the subject lands are located in very close proximity to 2 existing public parks, with Scourfield Park approximately 180 meters to the northwest, and Woodhatch Park approximately 320 meters to the south. So the residents of the proposed development will have adequate access to play spaces and public outdoor amenity areas. A number of concerns were received from property owners in the area, particularly with regard to the loss of privacy and adverse impact with respect to noise, drainage, and lighting. Many of these concerns are issues that would be addressed at the time of site plan approval, meaning that before any permits are issued, the town would have the opportunity to review the proposed site design in detail and incorporate measures to alleviate these concerns. So for example, staff will require a detailed stormwater management and drainage plan to demonstrate that the proposed development will have no negative impact on adjacent lands with respect to stormwater. And a photometric plan will show how all lighting on the subject lands will be contained to the property. Further, through the site plan approval process, town staff can include requirements for fencing and vegetative buffering to provide additional screening and reduce any potential visual impact from the proposed development to the low-density residential uses to the north. With respect to noise concerns, as previously stated, noise studies are not generally required for residential development. However, excess noise would be regulated through the town's noise bylaw. Concerns were also received with respect to garbage storage and rodents, And it's noted that the municipal collection of garbage and recycling generally occurs at the curb, but through the site plan process, we can have the applicant develop garbage storage structures. Concerns were received regarding shadowing impacts that may be had on the adjacent land uses. And to address this, the applicant did prepare a shadow study to assess the shadowing that would be cast by the proposed building. This study was prepared using industry standards and guidelines, which provide that at least 50% or more of any property should not be shaded for more than 2 two-hour intervals daily, and at least 50% of that property should be in full sun for at least 2 hours, for at least 2 two-hour intervals daily. So the study concluded that during the spring and fall equinox and the summer and winter solstice, the shade impact of the proposed building mass would impact the adjacent commercial property to the east between the hours of 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. However, this impact would not result in more than 50% shadowing and therefore falls within the industry standards. And during the winter solstice, the shade impact of the proposed building mass would impact the adjacent residential property to the north between the hours of 10 a.m. and noon. However, this impact would be limited to 1 two-hour interval and therefore falls within the industry standards to be acceptable. So it's noted that these shadowing scenarios do represent worst-case scenarios, and the majority of the shadowing impact would be had on the vacant commercial lands to the east on Bell Street, so in this area specifically. Concerns were also received about trespassing, overcrowding in local schools, and the inability of the fire department to accommodate the proposed structure from an emergency services perspective. So in response to this, staff note that fencing can be included through site plan, and we have been informed by the Thames Valley District School Board that they have no concerns with respect to capacity. This would be the Laurie Hawkins and IDCI catchment area. No comments were received from the London District Catholic School Board. And the Town of Ingersoll Emergency Services Department has indicated that they have no concerns and they would review fire routing as part of the detailed site plan approval process. We are aware of additional correspondence that was provided to Council last week outlining concerns which requested amendments to the R4 zone which specifically would reduce the required lot area per unit, the amenity area per unit, the children's play area, and parking. And this letter requested that if Council was supportive of the proposed use, to not permit any reductions or amendments to the zoning provisions. I would note in response to this that it is fairly common for development proposals to include some form of site-specific requests from the zoning provisions. In fact, it is quite rare to receive a proposal that does not include any site-specific requests. And in this instance, I am of the opinion that the requested amendments are minor, and denying the requested amendments to the development provisions of the R4 zone would have the effect of reducing the overall unit count by approximately 4 dwelling units to comply with the R4 zone provisions, which really is unlikely to have any real effect on the size and massing of the proposed building, particularly as the R4 zone permits a maximum building height of 6 stories, whereas the applicant is only proposing 5 stories, and a site-specific amending bylaw would allow us to cap that maximum height at 5 stories. Further, with respect to the lot areas, the intent of that provision to ensure that the setbacks can be met, and as I have noted, they are proposing an increased rear yard setback to those residential uses to the north, which is much larger than what would be permitted or required by the bylaw today. We have also heard concerns from the public about groundwater issues. So to that end, I would note that the UTRCA does highly regulate all surface and groundwater watercourses within their watershed, and this area does not contain any underground watercourses based on their information. We can have the applicant provide hydrological and geotechnical information before we issue site plan approval to determine if there are any special considerations that would be required with respect to drainage. But based on the Upper Thames mapping, there are no underground watercourses in this area. So it is also worth noting that both the R4 zone and the highway commercial zone have the same coverage allowances, so there wouldn't be an overall increase from a coverage perspective if the lands were to be used for residential purposes versus commercial purposes. But it is noted that the proposed residential zone will require more landscaped open space, being 30%, than what would be required from the current highway commercial zone, which only requires 15% landscaped open space. So there would be an overall potential gain in permeable area resulting from the proposed residential development. So in either scenario, detailed review of drainage and stormwater management would occur to the town's satisfaction. So overall, planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed residential use will have less impact and overall be more compatible with the neighboring residential uses than the other uses that are currently permitted in the service commercial designation in the highway commercial zone, and will aid in achieving additional housing options for the town without having a negative impact on the existing commercial land inventory. And as such, staff are recommending that council approve the requested zone change in principle and advise county council that they're supportive of the requested official plan amendment. Thanks, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? Sure, I will ask Councillor, is Councillor Haller, it's your motion? Yep.
Can I speak to it after or before?
Just table the motion first, and then we can move to discussion.
All right. Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Haller, seconded by Councillor Boston, that the Council of the Town of Ingersoll receive report number 2025-138, and that Council of the Town of Ingersoll advise Oxford County Council that the town supports the official plan amendment application, file number 0P250306, as submitted by Escalated Property Corp. to redesignate the subject lands being legally described as part of Park Lot 18, Block 98, Plan 279 in the town of Ingersoll, municipally known as 412 Bell Street, from the service commercial to high-density residential, to facilitate the construction of a 49-unit apartment building on the subject lands. And that further that, the Council of the Town of Ingersoll approve in principle the zone change application file number ZN25-01 as submitted by Escalade Property Corp. To rezone the subject lands being legally described as part of Park Lot 18, Block 98, Plan 279 in the town of Ingersoll, municipally known as 412 Bell Street, from Highway Commercial Zone HC to Special Residential Type 4 Zone R4 SP, to permit the development of a 49-unit apartment building with a reduction to the required lot area per unit, a reduction to the required amenity space per unit, relief from the requirements for a children's play area, and a reduction to the required number of parking spaces. Can I speak to that?
Councillor Haller, as the mover of the motion, do you wish to
Yes.
speak to that?
Thank you. I just really wanted to speak to this because I want to thank Heather for taking into consideration a lot of the concerns that came through the community. And I also want to thank the members of the community that came through to have their concerns heard. This is one of those very rare cases where I've seen you nitpick every single concern and try to address it. And unfortunately, when we are trying to balance both housing and make sure that everyone is satisfied, this is one case that really speaks to every balance that I can experience here. So I do really want our community members to understand, one of the things that made it easy for me was because this subject line is basically facing the highway. It's different from what we've received in the past where, people have come here because construction and roads are coming through their neighborhoods or cul-de-sacs and so on. And I do know you understand that we do need housing in Ingersoll. We've heard some of the minor variances are not major, even if there are changes made, that we wouldn't see much of the required maybe height. And one of the biggest things for me is that we are stopping a hotel probably from coming and instead have residential homes. And I think it is, in the beginning, quite disruptive to think that this is coming to your neighborhood, but because it's coming through and it's backing this neighborhood, I feel like over time, we'll perhaps enjoy having this unit in this location. And I'm also, the consolation for me is also that the bylaws will apply to any other permits coming in the future. And most likely this road network might even change. So there's so many positive things I see in our future with allowing this to go forward. and I hope that makes everyone feel fair, balanced, and thank you again, Heather.
Thank you, Councillor Halleru. Any further comments? Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens?
I too want to thank Heather. I've spent a lot of time emailing Heather and talking with the residents up there. I am going to voice my concern about parking spots. I know that the county and the town have been looking at that. I have very much of a concern of us lowering that number all the time. This is on a very busy road that there is not going to be parking on the street at all. And if they have not enough parking spots in there, then where are they going to park? Louis happens to have a big parking lot, and it doesn't, fare well for Louis, unfortunately. So that is one discord that I do have. I appreciate Heather answering every single question that the residents put forward. I really do feel that this wasn't a NIMBYism, that they actually came forward with really great questions and really thought about how this was going to impact their lives, but also impact the area. And Heather, you did a great job in answering all the questions, and I really do appreciate that because I haven't seen that in a very long time where those kinds of questions really needed to have all the answers that you gave. The traffic impact study, Heather, I have one question. Is that something that we have to request at this level, or is that something that can be just automatically put in with you had mentioned it in your report, or is that something that just comes automatically at site plan?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, the applicant is aware that that will be a requirement at site plan stage.
Okay,
so
perfect.
they have been advised, and they're agreeable to that request.
Okay, thank you. Also, it's been a while since I've asked this question, but site plan process, is this something that the residents themselves would be able to know what's happening at stages along the site plan process? Or is it just going to, because we don't normally here at the council level see what's happening at site plan process, but is that something that if the residents wanted to find out what was happening and how things were going, is that public knowledge? Are they able to contact your office or through the town? I'm not sure who wants to try to answer that one.
Sure.
Thanks.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Site plan approval is not a public process. It's an approval that has been delegated authority to staff. However, that being said, I'm happy to keep the public involved in what's going on. However, they don't, we would welcome their comments, but the approval lies with the town and with staff. So it is not generally a public process, but I am happy to answer any questions if people have them and let them know how development's proceeding.
I appreciate that answer, if I may. And the only other one that I was wondering about, the hydrological, I know that you're saying that it doesn't have to be, but if I can get you to keep that in the back of your mind, that was a big concern. And when I was visiting with residents there, I could hear their sump pumps running. So there's maybe this will help, putting this building there. But if I can put it in the back of the forefront of the mind, just to maybe keep that in mind during the site plan process. Otherwise, as much as I don't want to support this, I am going to support it because honestly, I agree with Councillor Halleru. The impact of putting a higher building in there to me is even more detrimental to the area. So I will support it. But I am just making note of my concerns with the parking spots in particular. I really am going to drive that one home. There's nowhere for them to park. They would have to walk from Ossian Terrace. They would have to come from down at the bottom of the hill. And the only other spot would be across a very busy highway to be able to park to visit with anybody. There isn't any other parking there. So I really, if we can keep it to 1.5, I would much rather. I know it's only a couple of spots, but a couple of spots is a couple of spots. So that's all my comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens. Any further comments? Oh, sorry, Councillor Bowman, and then Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. As much as I'm in favor for multi-residential housing, I think Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens has hit on a couple of things that I was going to ask about or suggest, and that's the hydrological study as well as the parking. I don't know. I know that we could have a hotel there, and I know that, you know, we could be putting a cap on some, using the bylaw to put a cap on further development. But when I take a look at this map, I'm somewhat uncomfortable with it. It's just really tight on this lot when you take a look at the rear boundary and the road boundary. So for that reason, I thank you, Heather, for answering all the questions of the residents, but I don't know. I just feel a little uncomfortable about this, and I'm not sure that I can support it.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Councillor Hudson?
Thank you. Through you, I had a few concerns as well, just with the, a couple of the asks with the exemption of the children's play area. I have a worry about that only because we're kind of saying, well, there's one this close and there's one this close, but those were put there for a reason for the people that live in those areas, and they were put there because those builders most likely had to put them there for those people. There's no sidewalk on that side of the road at all, so if there's children going to live in this area and they're going to go to the Scourfield area, they're going to have to walk down a highway to get there, or they're going to have to drive. And if they drive, then Scourfield area is going to have all those cars parked in there, so I get their concerns there. I don't know how they would fit it in. Like Councillor Bowman was saying, this is a really, really tight spot. But that's a concern for me. The parking is also a really big concern. And I know at the last meeting it was kind of brought up, you know, they were asking for less parking because, you know, we have such a higher number than most places, but those places also have transit and we don't have transit. So people are coming into these buildings with cars to drive to jobs in other places. So those are some of my big concerns. I'm happy that the site plan stage, we can look after garbage storage and drainage and all those things we can address at that time. So I feel comfortable with that, but I'm just really kind of on the fence. We've already reduced the per unit was supposed to be 110, now it's down to 97. They're asking to reduce the amenities area from 40 down to 19. Those are just my concerns that I thought we should discuss as well.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. Any further comment? Councillor Hallerow?
Just to clarify, the parking issue is a concern, yes, but I do see that the parking estimated on this plan is it's more than 49 parking spots already. Correct, Heather? Because we have almost 50-something parking, almost 60 parking lots with visitors parking spaces and even accessible parking spots. So how many in total do we have here?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Hallerow. The applicants are proposing, if you can just bear with me for one moment. They're requesting a reduction, so the typical parking requirements at 1.5 spaces per unit would result in 74 spaces required, regular spaces. They're proposing 69, and 8 visitor spaces being required, and they're proposing 7. So it's an overall reduction from 85 spaces to 79 spaces, with just one reduction to the required visitor spaces.
So it's fair to say that if there's an average of over 60% having 2 car spots per unit, that we actually meet that requirement.
Unfortunately, I would not be able to do that math in my head. But
So like 49, we would need 100 spots if every unit had 2. And we have about 80, over 80. So we're pretty good with estimating that if 80% of the units had 2, they would actually be able to park, and there would still be enough parking for the rest. And that's how I looked at it.
yes, so the way that it works is the landlord essentially assigns spaces. So you don't rent the unit if you need an extra space for the car. So they rent the space with the unit. So people would know that if they have 2 cars, they would need to rent 2 spaces. And then there would be 7 visitor parking spaces to accommodate any visitors that would come to the area. And then that would be in addition to, I believe it's 3 barrier-free spaces as well. So there would be at least 1 space for each of the units, depending on what they need as part of their rental agreement, and then spaces for visitors as well.
Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens?
Councillor Hudson had brought up that there was no sidewalks, and there is a sidewalk, just so that you know, along Bell Street on that side. No, it's on this side. I'm looking at a Google map of it right now, and there is a sidewalk that goes down along in front of Louis. I just wanted you to be aware of that. I totally understand your concerns, but there is a sidewalk. When you said it, I'm thinking, I think there is one, so I went and looked at Google Map. Yeah, there is one on the other side too. They put one on the other side as well, last year or the year before that. So, but there is a sidewalk, which is why I wasn't as concerned about them walking. I totally would understand if there was no sidewalk there, that them walking to the park in that respect. Obviously, that would be not a good thing, but I just wanted you to be aware of that, so thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes, did you have? Go ahead, please.
Comments, questions. There's also a bike lane there. So I too, we as a council, I believe, have been very consistent with asking about parking spots, because we know there's been a couple of other requests that initially we have denied because of the lack, and they were actually coming in 1 for 1 as opposed to the 1.5 required or the 1.4 that is being asked for here. To lose a total of 8 spots out of 84, sorry, isn't that bad. We've have given concession in other requests down 1.3, if I remember correctly. And it is difficult. It is difficult. I understand the hydrological side of it. If Upper Thames is saying there's no worries in there, that to me is not going to be a concern, because they're the experts. The biggest issue that I would have is very similar to the other fellow councillors, is just the size of it on the property. It is filling that property up, absolutely it is. But ultimately, with the variances that they're asking for, you know, it is doable, and I will be supporting this motion simply because it's adding housing to the community. It is, as they said in their presentation back in April, that they're kind of focusing these buildings at seniors and double income, no kids. I know that it's illegal for them to not rent it if that was the case, but I'm not up on my rental tenant regulations, but I believe that still might be a case. So with that, I don't think it's something we need as a community, and with the new provincial policies that are coming forward, it's definitely something that falls within all of that, and it's again adds rental units to our community that would keep hopefully some seniors from having to move out into Woodstock or Tillsonburg or wherever.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Any further comments? Seeing none, I'll add mine at the end, and then I will call the vote. I want to agree with Councillor Hughes. I do understand the concerns maybe around parking and the change to the neighborhood, but what is a concern as well is the vacancy rate in Ingersoll and the continued increase of rental rates for units in the community. In the master housing strategy, our vacancy rate in Ingersoll has stayed pretty steady at 1.3, and 4% would be considered balanced. So we are way off from having the affordable market rental units in Ingersoll, and so I think it's a responsibility to support these kinds of projects, even if they are not perfect, because we have residents in our community that cannot afford their rent as it continues to increase. So I will be supporting this, and although, you know, I recognize the change to the community, I think in the end, this is a good thing for Ingersoll to be able to increase that market rental supply. So with that, I am going to call the vote if there are no further questions. All in favor? And opposed? That's carried. Thank you. This is Heather too. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to confirm that this was Heather as well. So we'll move on to report. It's not on here. Oh, sorry, it's 7 o'clock. Sorry, Heather. We have to move to the delegations. You'll have to hang around a little bit longer. So first up, we have Meredith Maywood from Oxford County Tourism.
Good evening, members of council. Thank you very much for having me here today to provide an update on tourism in Oxford County. I've got a brief presentation that will talk a little bit about what we were up to in 2024 and what we are up to in 2025. If you're not familiar with tourism, we're a service of the County of Oxford, and we work on tourism management. So that's ensuring that development's occurring in a way that is advantageous to the community and its residents. It is meeting the needs of visitors. Product development, so that's supporting the businesses and creating new collaborations together. And then marketing, and quite often that's in collaboration with businesses as well to make people realize the wonderful things we have available here to do. Tourism in Oxford County, I want to pull a few numbers from our 5-year tourism plan, but it's 190 tourism businesses that we're working with. At this point, over 3,000 people are employed in the tourism sector in Oxford County, and we had 670,000 Canadian and US visitors when you're looking at data from 2023. That's equivalent of 1.4 million nights. Every year, we also continually look and analyze what the tourism trends are. I want to share a couple of the trends with you that we're monitoring at this time, and these came from Skyscanner, which is a Canadian study that looks at trends for Canadian travelers. Conscious travel continues to be on the rise, and this is people that are looking, you know, to have a positive impact when they travel. Just before I came here, I was reading an article on BBC News with this very same theme, and it was talking to consumers about how they can be a more conscious traveler. So it's not something that we're seeing on a small scale, but it's happening on a grand scale. Also, people are searching for a sense of community, and this ties into the whole trend in the communities where people are feeling a bit of a disconnect. And tourism is an opportunity where they're looking to have some of that connection as well, not just at home, but when they travel. They also want to go to under-touristed destinations, so destinations that don't have too many tourists coming. But we have to let them know that there is enough to do here and what that could look like. So we've been doing a lot of work in that area. And then, of course, culture is incredibly popular at this time, fitness and several other trends. You know, people want immersive travel. They're wanting to connect when they travel with people in the place. So when you look at what we're doing in Oxford County, we have several products that we market. Your Next Stop is one that we launched last year, and we actually just held a meeting in Ingersoll with businesses to talk about offering it here. So this is a program where people can go out and we're basically letting them know there's enough to do with providing an itinerary. So we're letting them know a variety of stops available in the town of Ingersoll. So we're hoping to launch that for September of this year. And then also we're looking at launching in Woodstock and Tillsonburg, having already launched 3 rural routes. Also, the area is known for cycling tourism. We actually have a group of tandem cyclists coming to the area with over 100 cyclists this weekend coming up. Experiential tourism is also incredibly popular, and this provides that immersive travel opportunity that consumers are looking for. Wellness and outdoors continues to trend, and we do offer a wide variety of products, which also ties into the experiential travel. And then, of course, our culinary tourism with Oxford Fresh partnership with the OCFA, and then also the Oxford County Cheese Trail. So in 2024, we did a lot of work in the area of management. So we did develop our 5-year tourism plan, and we also received our silver level designation in sustainable tourism as a destination through Green Step. We also received partnership funding through FedDev to do some of the work to advance these strategies forward, including the Your Next Stop program. In 2024, we also did a lot of work in product development. We're regularly holding workshops for businesses. We had 146 registrations for them last year. As mentioned, we launched Your Next Stop in 3 rural areas. We had 4 new experiences launched. We also tested out Oxford Eats, which was a program to support restaurants during the quieter month of January. And then we started to do a partnership with the Downtown Woodstock BIA, testing out hospitality hops, and we're hoping to expand that program in the future. 2024 marketing, we had very high digital impressions because we partnered twice with Destination Ontario. So when we market, we're always looking to extend our spend. So we partner regularly with Destination Ontario, Ontario Southwest. Through one of those partnerships, we're going to be in the Globe and Mail shortly as well. We also have a large subscriber and follower base that we're reaching out to regularly through our newsletter and social media channels. And we had over 300,000 website sessions. So looking forward, we're working on the 5-year tourism plan, which was approved last year by Council. So we're wanting to know that we're going to have a vibrant tourism destination that contributes to Oxford County's economic, social, and environmental well-being. With that, we're going to be working in the areas of destination management, product development, and marketing. And with that, we've got several goals and objectives, which you can read here. And due to time, I won't go into them in great detail. So with that, working on the business plan for 2025, we're going to continue to improve our measurement that we're doing so we can report better on what's happening within the industry with the grant that we received and work that we're doing. That includes developing a new database to manage not only our website, but our contacts within the industry. And we're going to have better data available and be able to provide better customer service to visitors and also to businesses. We're also launching a new Visiting Friends and Family campaign. So if you're familiar with our logo, it's Tour Oxford. We're actually going to be coloring the OUR a different color within the logo and use that to reach out to our local residents because this is our place to be proud of and we should know it as well, if not better, than our visitors. Then also, we're hoping to work with the Outdoor Farm Show to increase extended stays by some of their vendors. And we're also looking to improve our communication, not only with businesses, but also with visitors and with residents. And then I just wanted to provide a reminder that we're always happy to partner. We have a variety of data available to us. We regularly do partnership on photography opportunities. We offer opportunities to reach out to businesses. We have over 300 on our mailing list. And we're always happy to discuss collaborations. So that is it for today. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Meredith. Did anyone have any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for coming. It's always great to see the things coming out of Tourism Oxford, and hopefully everyone is checking them out.
Thank you.
So, Councillor Bowman, please.
Bear with me for a second here. There you go. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive Meredith Maywood's delegation regarding the Oxford County Tourism Annual Update as information.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Haller, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you for such a beautiful update on what we consider an Oxford County thing, but sometimes we kind of don't have that focus on Ingersoll, and you pick us out and say things that are happening. And I think for the broader public to be aware that these events are coming to our town, I'm not sure how staff can also work with you to really pick those events and blow them up for our community, because we have a communications person now, and I think it's important for us not to miss some of these, and for businesses not to miss the opportunity to support these events. So thank you for coming and highlighting those Ingersoll-specific projects.
Thank you. All in favor? None opposed, that's carried. We'll move on to our next delegation. We're welcoming Kelly Elliott from the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors with a presentation. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and through Deputy Mayor Wilson, to the rest of council and staff. My name is Kelly Elliott. I'm here on behalf of the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors to talk to you about our upcoming trade show, which is coming to the County of Oxford and to the City of Woodstock. For those of you that are not familiar with AORS, we're a provincial association. We have 34 local associations across the province, including the Oxford County Road Supervisors Association. A lot of what we do is high quality training and education. We run for your public works employees and employees across the province. We run everything from chainsaw safety to how to run a grader or a snowplow, all the way up to our public works leadership development program, which your public works professionals can get their certified road supervisor designation that's recognized through the province, as well as we run networking. We do advocacy on behalf of municipalities, as well as we put on 2 premier events throughout the year, one being our provincial rodeo that showcases the best municipal equipment operators across the province, and then of course our trade show. We have over 2,000 members across the province of Ontario. And again, one of these associations being the Oxford County Road Supervisors Association, which we have had the opportunity to work with over the past year planning this trade show. So for the trade show, it is June 4th and 5th, again being held at the Woodstock Fairgrounds. We have over 200 exhibitors with over 300 exhibits being featured over those 2 days. We're expecting over 2,000 visitors over the course of 2 days from all across the province. Local hotels are sold out. I know in the city of Woodstock we're sold out. I know the overflow has been happening here into Ingersoll. The Comfort Inn is almost sold out. So your local restaurants and businesses are going to see that increase over the 2 days over the trade show. We've partnered with Rogers Sports and Media, including City TV, Breakfast Television, Sportsnet, some local radio stations, to promote the trade show, as well as Oxford County as a whole coming to the area. And one thing I want to focus on is it's not just for the municipal public works sector. Our municipal public works use a lot of suppliers that the construction, drainage, and especially our agricultural sectors can all benefit from. Some of the vendors that you'll see is the Stratford Farm Equipment, the Delta Power, the Brant Tractors. So there's a little bit for everyone there. One of the highlights of the show is it's free to attend, and it's open to the public, so anybody can come over those 2 days to experience the trade show. One thing that's not in my presentation, but I think it's important to note, is the proceeds of this event stay in the community. And at one of the recent trade show committees, the Oxford County members decided that a portion of the proceeds will be split between the hospitals in Oxford County, including the hospital here in Ingersoll, as well as all of the food banks. So the proceeds from this event are staying within Oxford County. One of the big initiatives AORS has been doing over the past couple years is what we call Why Public Works, and it's encouraging youth to consider a rewarding and successful career in public works, working for their town or their city, and we have incorporated that into the trade show. Invitations have gone out to our local secondary schools across Oxford County and all of those that capture Oxford County students to invite them to visit the trade show. When they organize that to come with us, the classes will receive a presentation on what a career looks like in municipal public works. They'll hear from some of the local Oxford County public works professionals on how they got into public works and give their advice as well how to get the foot in the door as a student within the town or city. And then they'll be able to go out and visit with exhibitors. Through sponsorships that we have, students also receive a free lunch when they come, as well as we cover the bus transportation for the schools to come, so it's free of charge for the students. Also, as part of the trade show, we do have the Ross Mackenzie Memorial Golf Tournament. So this is kind of a big year. The very first Ross Mackenzie Memorial Golf Tournament was held in '94 with the Oxford County Trade Show, and so we're excited to bring that back. It is on June 3rd, so it's the Tuesday before the trade show. We have 144 golfers golfing at the Craigwin Golf Course. You're more than welcome to golf with us. You can visit the website to get the golf registration. I know there's a few spots left. So again, we just want to open the invitation for all of you, as well as the public, to attend the trade show, and we're looking forward to being in Oxford County.
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions? Councillor Van Kooten-Bosnitz.
Thank you, Kelly, for being here. Lots of information in a very quick time. The local secondary schools, is it just a certain grade that's being invited, or is it open to like 9 to 12, or?
Yeah, so it's open to 9 to 12. I sent invitations out to principals and specifically to careers teachers, as well as the construction technology teachers as well. But yes, it is open, and teachers are more than welcome to contact me and set that up.
Thank you. Any further questions? Yeah. Councillor Halleru?
So when you say, thank you for that beautiful presentation, it was a lot of information, but yeah. So when you say municipal public trade, it's not just an Ontario thing, it's a country?
So we're the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors, so we focus on the province of Ontario. Okay. I know, however, though, I know we have one vendor coming from Australia. We have a few from Quebec and a few down from the States. So we are attracting vendors from all across the world.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you very much for coming, and I think everyone looks forward to attending.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson, you've got the motion for the delegation, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive Kelly Elliott's delegation regarding the 2025 AOR's Municipal Public Works Trade Shows information.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. We'll move on to our final delegation for this evening. We have Mark Cassidy from Kickley, Oxford County.
On Thursday, the Bank of Canada announced that the Canadian economy faces a new financial crisis. A long-lasting trade war with the U.S. poses a great threat to the Canadian economy, the bank said, warning about both increased unemployment and mortgage defaults. How things have changed since November 8, 2017. Deputy Mayor and Council, my name is Mark Cassidy. I've been a resident of Ingersoll for over 30 years. Thank you for allowing me to address Council this evening. In your package, I believe you'll see the following purpose statement of my delegation. This delegation is a follow-up to the community petition presented to Oxford County Council by the Kickley Canada Oxford County chapter on April 23rd, 2025. As a signatory on the petition, I will present the perspective of an Ingersoll resident on the Partners for Climate Protection program in regards to the looming financial crisis facing Ingersoll Town Council. I will recommend that the Ingersoll Town Council make a formal request to Oxford County Council to withdraw from the costly Partners for Climate Protection program. My purpose here this evening is to highlight just one specific point from the petition. The petition, with 770 signatures from across Oxford County, addressed a program called the Partners for Climate Protection Program, or PCP for short. Present that afternoon at the council meeting were 130 concerned taxpayers who filled the council chambers for the presentation. In order to explain the core concerns expressed in the petition, I hope to answer the three following questions. 1, what exactly is the PCP program? 2, how does Ingersoll participate with Oxford County? And 3, what climate action plans has Oxford County committed to? First question, what is the PCC program? The PCP program is managed and delivered by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, or FCM for short, and receives its funding from ICLEI, or ICLEI. The town of Ingersoll is a member of the FCM. The FCM is a national organization, not local, that represents over 2,000 municipalities across Canada. 550 Canadian municipalities have registered their membership with the FCM and signed on to the PCP program since its inception in 1994. These municipalities have committed to taking action on climate change by following the program's 5 milestone framework, which guides them through developing and implementing climate action plans and monitoring the progress. ICLEI was originally called the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. ICLEI is a global network of more than 2,500 local and regional governments and is active in 125 countries. ICLEI is a global, not a local organization. I want to draw your attention to the global nature of the PCP program. One of the stated purposes in the petition was to shift Oxford County Council back to local priorities and solutions and away from ICLEI's globalist approach. ICLEI is the founder of the PCP program, and its home is in Bonn, Germany. Second question, how does Ingersoll participate in the PCP program? Ingersoll contributes in at least these 4 ways. First, Ingersoll residents support the Oxford County PCP program with their tax dollars. There's a one taxpayer for the operating costs of both Ingersoll and Oxford County municipal operations. Second, collaboration between Ingersoll and Oxford County is more efficient and in Ingersoll's best interest. Ingersoll aligns itself with the county's strategies and goals and benefits from shared services such as engineering, planning, regional transit, waste management, tourism, etc. Third, Ingersoll shares local CO2 emissions-related data with the county, and likewise, Ingersoll may use the county's regional data, technical support, and tools to help complete their own environmental projects more efficiently. And fourth, Oxford County provides progress updates to Ingersoll Council and the public on its climate action plans, similar to how Meredith presented tonight. The final question is, what action plans, climate action plans, are in progress across Oxford County? The Oxford County Strategic Plan for 2023 through to 2026 lists its top priority as moving towards a more sustainable future, adapting and mitigating climate change impacts, and continuing Oxford's role as a leader in sustainability. This has been the priority of Oxford County since 2017, when it first registered with the FCM as a participant in the PCP program. The main way that Oxford County achieves the strategic goal of reducing CO2 emissions and meets the targets set by the PCP program is by climate action plans. For example, the county's Green Fleet, launched in 2021, is a climate action plan. The long-term financial burden of the PCP program raises serious concerns about its impact on the county's municipal budget and resources, especially given the current financial crisis. The PCP program places significant financial strain on taxpayers and could jeopardize the delivery of essential municipal services, infrastructure, and local community priorities. In conclusion, a study published May 7th by the Financial Accountability Office of Ontario found that the Oxford area tariff-related job losses could hit 11,500 next year in 2026. Cutting or delaying non-essential programs and projects to reduce cash outflows is one option that Oxford County and all lower-tier municipalities are able to use in times of financial crisis. The PCP program is a costly, long-term, non-essential program. This delegation, therefore, respectfully asks, asks Ingersoll Town Council to make a formal request to Oxford County Council to adopt the following resolution. That Oxford County Council withdraw from the Partners in Climate Protection Program in order to save money, avoid increasing taxes, and remain fiscally responsible during this time of great financial crisis. Deputy Mayor and Council, thank you for considering my perspective on this important matter. I hope that you will encourage the other municipalities to adopt a similar measure. You will have the support of myself and many local citizens when you do, I assure you. I value your leadership. I am grateful for your faithful service to your community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the delegation? Councillor Halleran.
Thank you for a beautiful presentation. Do you have a membership across Oxford County? Do you know how many members we have in the area? And if there is public meetings that can actually help you, disseminate this information to regular folks so that there's a broader understanding?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. This is really a grassroots organization. We have the parent organization, Kickley Canada, has branches across the country, all across Canada. It is a member-supported organization that takes no commercial or governmental support. And we have made presentations in Ontario to, I believe, 18 municipalities so far. And that number of members in the organization is rapidly increasing right across Canada. Directly to answer your question, there's a monthly meeting that is available to anyone via Zoom, and this can be accessed through the Kickley website, and we would invite anyone, council members or any members of the public, to join us, and I hope that answers part of your question at least.
Sorry, follow. I just wondered if we had a count of representation in Oxford County so that we can back up and ask of the county.
In terms of total membership, I think if you use the number from the recent forum that we held, it would be in the neighborhood of 300 people. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? I've got a couple myself, if you don't mind. So you mentioned that there were 770 signatures on that petition. How many of those signatures were residents of Ingersoll?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know for sure that one wasn't. There was a visitor we had from Norfolk County who was interested in having their own Kickley organization, and I wasn't responsible for the petition. I'm not a member of the leadership, but it's something that we could easily find out for you because all of the addresses were provided.
Yeah.
So that information is available.
Okay. And my next question is, Kickley is I was looking at your website. It's a nonprofit, or you operate as a lobby organization? How does the organization govern itself?
Nonprofit grassroots organization. It's people that have met around kitchen tables in right across Oxford County, for example, and have recently had some support tools made available to them through Kickley Canada. So there's a website now, and I believe there are 6 municipalities, including Peterborough, that have placed their own web pages. Oxford County has a web page there as well, where people can look at and see what activities are happening in their community. And but it is grassroots and just funded by by the public, $5 here and so on.
So it's not funded by organizations that would benefit from removing carbon emission reductions?
That's correct.
Okay. And a question of staff, is the town of Ingersoll a member of FCM?
No, we're not a member of FCM.
Thank you. And my final question is quite direct, but I think it's important to address. Does Kickley believe in climate change, or just the approach that Oxford County has taken to reducing its emissions?
Believe. It's an interesting concept to imagine. I might say to the deputy mayor, do you believe that Christ died for your sins? That, of course, suggests that this is a religious question. So belief in climate change is like a religious issue.
I can reframe the question. Do you believe that the climate is warming, supported by science, and that human activity is the main driver of that climate warming?
I think I can help you there. There's quite a great misconception. If you see steam, is that the cause of the water boiling? If you see CO2 in the atmosphere, is that the cause of the climate warming? The position you're taking is that climate warming is created by CO2, which would be like saying steam is causing the water to boil. The current scientific data, and it would be an interesting conversation for us to have, demonstrates that CO2 follows a warming planet. CO2 increases after the atmosphere, after the planet has warmed up, and it can lag that warming by up to 800 years. So there is a correlation between the warming of the planet and CO2 emissions, but it is not a causal relationship. CO2 increases only after the climate has warmed up.
I think that's all the questions we had for the delegation, unless there are any more. So we will have the motion to receive the delegation from Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Hellerue, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive Mark Cassidy's delegation on behalf of Kickley Oxford County Chapter regarding Partners for Climate Change Program as information.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? None. Sorry, all in favor? Thank you. None opposed. That's carried. So we'll move back up to staff reports. So we are looking at...
Can I make a motion to take a 5-minute break?
Oh, sure. Yes, of course. Any discussion? All in favor? We'll take a 5-minute break and come back shortly. Thank you. going to call the meeting back to order, and we will be moving on to a staff report, CP 2025-147. Heather, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The county has received a request to extend approval of draft plan of subdivision that was granted approval in July of 2022 and is scheduled to lapse in July of this year. The draft approved plan of subdivision is located on the north side of Clark Road, lying between Thames Street South and Whiting Street, and has been approved for the creation of 21 blocks for low-density residential development, 2 blocks for medium-density residential development, 1 block for high-density, and a number of blocks for recreation land and open space to provide for stormwater management and maintain the existing environmental features on the site. So overall, it's anticipated that the proposed number of units in the subdivision would be approximately 570 new dwelling units. The subject lands are approximately 87 acres in size and currently contain the northern portion of the Ingersoll Golf and Country Club. So up until this point, the applicant has been working with staff from the town, the county, and the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority to clear their conditions of draft plan approval. The applicants have indicated that they do require additional time to register the proposed plan of subdivision, and it is noted that the applicants have appealed conditions number 18, 19, 20, and 30 of the draft plan approval, which are the conditions associated with permits from the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority and the implementation of the recommendations in the environmental impact study to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And this appeal is scheduled to be considered by the OLT in November of this year. So aside from this appeal process, the applicants have largely satisfied the requirements of town engineering and the County Public Works Department with respect to detailed road designs, stormwater management, and the water and wastewater servicing. However, the conditions respecting the Upper Thames requirements for the wetland area, which is located on the south area of Block 3 and the north area of Block 11 in approximately this area, have not yet been met to the satisfaction of the Conservation Authority, and additional time will be required to address these conditions with the tribunal. But overall, and aside from the appeal process, staff are satisfied that the applicant is actively working on fulfilling the conditions of draft plan approval to facilitate the registration of the subdivision, and staff are supportive of the requested extension to address these outstanding conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the report? Seeing none, Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Town of Ingersoll advise the County of Oxford that the town supports a 3-year extension of draft approval for the plan of subdivision, file SB 20-04-5, as submitted by Ingersoll Greens, Inc., for the lands described as part lots 20 and 21, Concession 1, West Oxford, being municipally known as 51 Holcroft Street in the Town of Ingersoll.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. We'll be moving on to the next staff report, dog licensing, staff report C-017-25, and I'll just move it to the Clerk's Department to take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, Deputy Clerk Julie Ellis worked really hard on this, so she's going to provide the overview this evening.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. The report you have in front of you is a result of a request from Council to review the town's dog licensing program, passed by resolution at the February 10th meeting. For some background, the town's current dog licensing bylaw requires that all dogs in the town of Ingersoll must be licensed and wear a dog tag. These dog tags can be purchased at the town office or at Hillside Kennels for $20 for a spayed or neutered animal and $25 for an animal who is not spayed or neutered. They are good for the current year only and include an identification number. Purchases of dog tags have steadily declined over the last 10 years and now account for an annual revenue of about $2,600 for the town. There are a number of reasons why there is not as much uptake as there used to be for purchasing dog tags. Firstly, social media has made the reunification of lost animals much quicker and more efficient. Secondly, microchipping has become increasingly popular. And finally, commercially available dog tags are affordable, provide more information, and don't need to be renewed annually. Recently, many municipalities have been shifting from the traditional dog tag program, including many of our neighboring municipalities, as shown in the chart in the report. And these municipalities are either moving towards contracting an outside service to oversee the dog licensing function, or they are fully eliminating dog licensing. In the case of municipalities who do eliminate their program, they are still enforcing by bylaw that dogs must be identified and that this is the owner's responsibility. In the report, staff have presented 3 options to council. Ultimately, the recommendation from staff is to end the dog licensing program and modify the bylaw to require dogs to have identification affixed to their collar. This recommendation is based on what the majority of similar-sized municipalities are doing, and on the reduction of staff time to provide the service, and also because the alternative solution to contract an outside organization is quite expensive. Staff are not recommending any alteration to the contract with Hillside Kennels that provides for animal control services for the town. So if this option is chosen by council, staff will need to bring an amendment to the bylaw back to a subsequent council meeting to formalize the changes. It is recommended that these changes take effect for 2026, as many residents have already purchased the tags for 2025. And I am happy to answer any questions of council.
Thank you. Any questions of the report? Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor. Great report. Excellent options. I appreciate that. That's exactly what I was looking for. It is something that we do need to bring back to the responsibility of the dog owners to make sure, A, that their dogs are properly secure, but at the same time properly identified if they do get out. I think one of our shortcomings with the dog license or the dog tag licensing was the enforcement of it. I don't think we enforced much of it out there. We're not proactively out there checking dogs when people have them out for walks, which no big deal. My question is in regards to the contract with Hillside Kennels, looking at their I guess calls for service, which basically dropped drastically over the past few years. 2018, there was 46 call-outs, and in just last year, 2024, I believe that's this one, it's 22, there's 23, 24, there was a total of 5. Number one, I'm going to ask, and this is just, I know it might be impossible to answer, would it be worth for just those 5 call-outs to continue the contract with Hillside? Number one. Number two, would it be potentially, if we decide to keep the contract with Hillside, could we negotiate a lesser amount and or just go to a call-out service charge?
I think I'll refer to the clerk on this one.
I'll respond, and then I believe the CAO wants to chime in. It's definitely something that we could try to negotiate with Hillside. I'm not familiar with any municipalities who have dropped the service altogether. It's really like it comes from an animal welfare perspective of when you get that call, who's going to provide that service, and they are on call for us. So it's really hard to just discontinue that and not be able to offer that within the municipality. But we can definitely have those conversations when the contract is set to be renegotiated.
And further to that, through the Deputy Mayor, I would concur with those comments. It's always difficult. There are times where you need animal services, and having contractors locally is getting harder and harder. So there's some benefit in kind of keeping Hillside Kennels available for certain uses. And I'm not sure of the most recent years, but I believe they've been reducing their fees quite a bit over the last few years. So that's been beneficial as well. So my recommendation as CAO too would be to continue to have them provide some service to us. There may become a point in time where we really feel we hit a tipping point. We no longer need those kinds of services, but I think we're not quite there yet. We've been waiting for that tipping point just to be able to not have to provide dog tags as well. Now we're at that point, but I think we're a ways off yet before we actually just sort of discontinue the services that Hillside provides.
Follow up?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Also looking at that, they also do the call-outs for injured animals, not just dogs, but also cats. And then, of course, the charges back on that, which is part of the part of the contract. Understand that. Okay, no, that's basically where I was looking at, because I know that the costing for our monthly retainer fee with them, as shown here on the report, is $700 a month, and then it looks like $115 for a call-out fee. So, all in all, I think it's something that, yes, we can definitely keep an eye on and look forward to. It's becoming an antiquated system that I don't think we need to burden our dog owner residents with any further, in my opinion. Thank you.
Councillor Hallerou and then Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
Thank you. I definitely agree. I like the option 2 recommendation. Continuing up until 2025, because we already have people who've kind of paid on it. So it's going to be a seamless process, and then I like the idea that we can negotiate, even if it's paper service or something, that at least continues on for other animals. So thank you.
Yeah, I too, when I look at the monthly fees and then what we end up paying in total for the monthly charges, I understand we're part of a contract, but when it comes to contract time, I would love to see what it would look like if we just went without the monthly retainer. I think that, it's good to do a cost comparison. I don't think that there's anybody else in the area, but that's $11,000 onto our bottom line. So, but great report, and I have no problem in supporting the option that you've put forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, Councillor Bowman, you have a motion?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the Council of the Corporation of Town of Ingersoll receive staff report C-017-25 as information, and that the town's animal licensing program be amended starting January the 1st, 2026 to provide free dog licenses. Option 2, which is remove the requirements for purchasing dog tags and move the responsibility of dog identification to the pet owner. And that staff attempt to renegotiate possible reduction of contract price with Hillside Kennels. And further, that the current animal control bylaw 01-2989 and rates and fees bylaw be amended effective January 1st, 2026.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. Thank you for adding in the renegotiation on the contract, Mike. Appreciate that. Sorry, Councillor Bowman. But one question to staff, communication of this moving out in, if it is approved, how will that communication aspect happen, and arguably when?
Sure. Through the Deputy Mayor, we'll work with communication staff through economic development to determine an appropriate timeline, but probably, in advance of when we would typically promote the sale of dog tags to town residents, and we'll come up with a plan to say, here's some options for getting your own. So we'll make sure that we kind of have that wrapped in language that helps make that transition from us selling the dog tags here at Town Hall.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. We are moving on to staff report C-01825. Back to the Clerk's Department.
Thank you. So this report outlines the process for appointing a new Earth Board member following the resignation of Ingersoll's current director, Mr. Paul Madden. So in April, Council directed staff to proceed with recruitment using the same skills-based approach as was used in 2019 when we first recruited Mr. Madden as Ingersoll's director to the board. The proposed steps in the report mirror the previous years, so a public call for applicants, shortlisting up to 6 candidates, and interviews conducted by a recommendation committee comprised of the mayor, 2 council members, the CAO, and treasurer, which would avoid quorum of council for these interviews. As in 2019, the committee will recommend 2 finalists for council's consideration, with the ultimate appointment resting with all of council. So as before, the appointee would provide quarterly updates on Earth activities. So hoping through this report to have that committee established, and then we can move forward with shortlisting candidates.
Thank you. So before we ask Councillor Hudson for the motion, is there any discussion on members who would be interested in being on that committee? Councillor Van Kouten-Bosens?
I would like to put forward your name to be on that committee. I am not able to be on that committee this year myself. I have way too much with work, but I'd be happy to have your name if you're available to do that.
I think others were asking, is there a timeline yet on when these may happen, roughly?
No. Yeah, we'll probably put this out pretty quickly, but it's a little difficult to know when we might be able to get the type of candidates we can start to schedule these. But I think we're probably looking a few weeks from now, like 2-3 weeks.
Councillor Halleru?
I'll definitely put my name forward, availability if I'm needed to be on that committee, and I'm honored to serve.
Councillor Hughes?
Thank you. I too would like to put my name forward. I have a lot of travel coming up over the next 4 weeks, so I'm not sure if I would be available when everybody else is. And I would basically be unavailable if something happened or if there was a meeting scheduled while I was away. So if that all works in the world, then it's great, but if not, I have that stipulation.
I'll just say I received the job posting from HR. They have proposed to post it for a month, so that should fit with your timeline. We should be within a month looking at who to shortlist and bringing that to the recommendation committee.
Thank you. Did anybody else want to put their name forward? So there's 3 names and 2
spots available. It's the mayor,
So
the treasurer, and the CAO.
So the clerk has just said we could opt to put 3, but that means it's quorum and would fall under the meeting rules accordingly. So they would have to be closed meetings. Councillor Halleru?
If Councillor Hughes is available when you need him, then I would drop out and let him take that spot. And if he's not, then I can fill in for you. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give Councillor Hudson a moment. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report C-018-25 as information, and that Council appoint the following 2 members of Council to act with the Mayor, the Treasurer, and the CAO on the recommendation committee: Deputy Mayor Lindsay Wilson and Councillor Rick Hughes, with possible backup of Khadija Halleru.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. And we are back to the Clerk's Department again for report C-02025, 2026 municipal elections, approval for alternative voting method.
Thank you. So this report seeks Council's approval to continue using vote by mail as Ingersoll's alternative voting method for the 2026 municipal elections in compliance with the Municipal Elections Act. So since 2006, Ingersoll has successfully conducted 5 elections using vote by mail, a method that aligns with the Act's core principles of secrecy, accessibility, fairness, and integrity. While internet voting has proven to be a secure and effective option for many Ontario municipalities, And while staff are confident that vendors offer robust systems, the absence of standardized provincial regulations introduces an element of uncertainty for us in the Clerk's Department here in Ingersoll. Given that our current vote-by-mail system already meets all legislative requirements, maintains the gold standard, as they say, for transparency of paper ballots, and has a track record of high accessibility and voter engagement, staff see no compelling reason in 2026 to alter our approach. So our existing method leverages years of operational experience and continues to serve our community well, in our humble opinion. The Act does require that Council pass a bylaw by May 1st, 2026, authorizing the use of alternative voting method if they so desire, as well as vote counting equipment, so the tabulators that we use to count the votes at the end of the evening. However, we are recommending early approval to secure cost efficiencies through joint tendering. Usually we do that through Oxford County, and to ensure planning. So if approved this evening, we will bring forward the necessary authorizing bylaws. And we are happy to answer questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions of the report? Councillor Hughes?
Thank you. Excellent report, as usual. But one question, with the online internet or telephone voting apps or software, do you have any idea cost-wise what some of those would cost at all?
I would have to look further into it. I believe it would be rather comparable. But I could, if council's on the fence, I could bring back a fully costed report to identify what our anticipated costs for the 2026 municipal elections would be for vote by mail versus internet and telephone voting. But I didn't explore it yet. My understanding is that it would be fairly comparable.
Councillor Halleroo?
I think we are still on the side of airing, cautionary. Someone who sits on the accessibility committee, I'm very concerned complexities to our voting system might throw in some confusion. I think the mailing is very accessible. Anyone and everyone can get help to do it, and we don't have to be a part of that as long as someone's vote comes in. And I think for our population, I don't think we should be worrying too much about counts and other things. So I definitely agree with the recommendation to just stick to what we're used to, what we know, and the operations are held at a minimum cost.
Thank you. Any further questions of the report? Seeing none, Councillor Hughes?
Thank you. Through you. Boy, tongue twister right there. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Halleroo, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report C-020-25 as information, and that Council directs staff to bring forward a bylaw authorizing an alternative voting method, vote by mail, as the use of vote counting and the use of vote counting equipment for the 2026 municipal elections. Wow.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll just say that I would love to see Ingersoll offer internet voting in the future. But if the Clerk's Department, who's responsible for executing that process, doesn't feel comfortable and confident, then I would have a hard time feeling comfortable and confident. So maybe one day we'll get there, but this is where we are today. So if there's no further discussion, I'll call the vote. All in favor? None opposed? That's carried. We are moving on to the next report, also from the Clerk's Department, who has been very busy this month. Report C-02125, AMO Delegations.
Thank you. This is just a quick one. Council is familiar with the annual AMO conference opportunity to meet directly with provincial ministries. So we are once again asking Council to identify any ministry delegation requests to be submitted for consideration. We're asking members to submit their request to us by May 28th, so a couple days before the submission deadline of the 30th, just to allow us time to compile those submissions, including necessary background information. for each of those requested meetings. So as in previous years, we'll be notified approximately 1 week before the conference of any delegations that have been approved. And at this time, I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Hughes.
Sorry, I'm not trying to drag this on. Would there be any sense, I know we still have the application in with the Ministry of Sport. Would there be any benefit of having a delegation with that minister or members of that ministry?
We're a little unsure of the timing of when they might do some announcements, and as they get closer to when they might do announcements, they might not want us to be a delegation. So it's a little hard to say. We have in the past put up some delegation requests, knowing that that may change as we get closer to it, or we may have to regulate what we talk about. So I'm open to council doing that. We were just having some meetings last week to try to think about what and who we could talk to as next steps on encouraging the funding. We've had, I think, some good success with some of the provincial politicians. We'd like to keep that going. So I'll hopefully know more in a few weeks, but at this point, I don't know. If council's on the fence, they could put in a delegation request, and we could potentially withdraw if that were that way, or we might have other subject matters to talk about if it were to come to that. So that's a kind of non-answer, but.
Councillor Halleru? Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. Question I have is, how successful are we in getting this right kind of delegation for AMO versus Roma?
I think I'll wade in. We've had pretty good success the last few years. I don't know who's writing these, I guess, but we seem to be getting pretty good amount of delegations. So yeah, and maybe to toot our own horn, we've got a lot of positive stuff happening in Ingersoll, and I think the last few years when we've been meeting with delegations, those of us that have been there and met with them, we've got some pretty good feedback. So I think maybe that helps our reputation a little bit. When we put in delegations, they seem to like talking to us so that we get them often. So it's been pretty successful.
Thank you. I don't know if this is a question for staff like Curtis. With the current climate of agriculture and the tariffs and new markets that some of our farmers are looking at, is this some time where we think about reaching out to see if they would like something as well, and then incorporate that into maybe an ask for a delegation that could help us with current policy and stuff like that?
Well, ultimately, Ingersoll is an urban area, not an agricultural area. So the farmers that we do have are someday going to cease operation as farmers. But I think anytime you can have a delegation with a minister, you can find something to talk about and something to ask for. So there may be some opportunity there, but largely Ingersoll would not be an agricultural destination. I wouldn't argue. However, food processing is a major target of ours, and so that would be OMAFA or rural affairs. So there are opportunities for a number of ministries to speak with.
Councillor Hughes?
Yes, thank you. Actually, to build on that, can we talk with other stakeholders within our community, the hospital, the nurse practitioners, to see if we can leverage our accessibility to the ministers on their behalf to try and push along something they may be looking for from them.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, Council will recall that on the work with our health strategy, Mike Barrett has helped us put together a package, and we did go to that ministry to talk about what was going on and what some of the things are, and it might be good to follow up on that again. And we did get some good traction that way. I don't think it hurts to remind them that this is an ongoing issue for a lot of municipalities. I think we also come from a good sort of moral high ground, because we can say we're doing our homework to try to figure out how we can be a part of the solution, but we don't have a ton of money, and it really shouldn't be our area to spend a ton of money in. but would be a part of the solution, and sometimes just even bringing information is a part of that solution. So I don't think that would be a bad idea at all.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Halloran, you have the motion.
Yes, thank you. Through you. Move on myself, Councillor Halleru, seconded by Councillor Bacon-Boston, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report C-021-25 as information.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Now we're moving on to our next report from Community Services, CS-00524, live barn installation at the arena. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Council. In front of you, you have a report about minor hockey was actually the user group that came forward to the town requesting the use of live barn in our arena because it is in arenas all around us. When staff looked into this, we found out that yes, live barn was in arenas all around us. Tillsonburg, as it's referenced in the report, just went through a similar report in their municipality. So yeah, it's looking at establishing a live stream camera inside the arena to allow parents and family members to be able to watch their children while they play sports if they're not able to attend. All of the user groups that use our facility are familiar with it because it's in the facilities in which they use. The report is just seeking council's permission to proceed with the installation of the camera, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Halleru?
Yeah, thank you, through you. Question I had is, are we going to continue to be able to use the arena beyond getting our new arena, like timeline, and whether this is something that could have waited, or is it something that is such a priority that we have to do it now?
So through the deputy mayor, this is a request of our user groups to we reached out to Live Barn. Live Barn will cover the cost of all the installation and everything, so they're aware of our potential to move, and they're still fully fine in investing in the infrastructure, so.
Councillor Hughes.
And to build on that question, is this equipment transferable from the old facility to the new facility?
Through the deputy mayor to Councillor Hughes, potentially. It will depend when we get to that point where the technology is in terms of live stream cameras. They may choose at that time to install a new camera in the new facility, but it's possible this one could be moved over, but we'll see when we get to that time. That'll be a choice of Live Barn at the time.
Councillor Van Kooten-Boston?
Are we looking at the premium plan or the basic plan?
Well, that would be up to each individual user to decide what membership package works for them.
Any further questions? I have one final one, and thank you for answering so quickly earlier today, but I'm going to ask it again because I think it was important. When I've used Live Barn, there's been locations that have Live Barn, but some of the games are blacked out. Would it be the case in Ingersoll that there are any games blacked out from the subscription?
So in talking with staff and talking with Live Barn, there's no intention to black out any games in Ingersoll. Part of the discussions we've had with them, if a user group, say Figure Skating Club, was hosting a competition or their carnival or whatever it may be, and if they were to request a blackout, then we can look at doing that internally, but that's not the intention of what we would be looking to do.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Van Kooten-Boston.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receives report CS-005-25 as information, and that Council approve the installation of the Live Barn camera in the Ingersoll Arena.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Moving on to our next staff report from the Economic Development Department. Staff report ED 00125, museum repairs.
So this report is to build on the building condition analysis report that council received recently. Basically, we've conducted some analysis as staff. We've been cooperating among interdepartmentally between facilities, treasury, and the museum. And this report reflects those discussions and analysis. Basically, what we're seeking is council's direction to move forward to start the repairs, and the report outlines sort of timing and estimated costs. I'm happy to answer any of council's questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the staff report? Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. Another good report. Thank you for putting in the estimated costs for the specific year we're looking at for the specific piece of or asset that we're looking at repairing. Is there any other option to bring money forward quicker to get the repairs done quicker? I know there's only 200,000 in the reserves, and I know I'm getting the evil eye from Irina. Okay. And it's good that you're actually breaking it out to 2025, 2026, 2027. It's good to see it over the 3 years and brought forward into the capital budget for the upcoming years. But just, is there any possibility we're able to hurry these repairs up so that it's a little more, so it's, if you want to say safer, a little better?
Well, ultimately, there's a lot of work to be accomplished each year that we broke down. So we took that into consideration as well. So it's not just the money, but it's the amount of projects and the amount of work. And we don't want to disrupt all of the facilities all at once. So we tried to separate that out so that we were impacting one facility more at per time, sort of thing. So it's not just the money, it's the feasibility of actually accomplishing the repairs in a timely manner that we took into account. But ultimately, we want to get this done as fast as we can, but we're also trying to pragmatically look at the projects and break them down so that we can accomplish them without impacting the entire operations of the museum.
Thank you. Councillor Van Kooten-Boston.
Thank you, through you, to either Curtis or maybe Michael. I noticed that we applied to Ontario Trillium back in 2023. Is there any plans to look at OTF again, and or even any other funding grants that might be out there which would help mitigate some of our costs?
Yeah, we're always looking for grants. We thought we had a really good application for Trillium for that. It was to do with accessibility, and we tried to incorporate some of their other criteria, but unfortunately we weren't successful with that. We have received other grants in the past. If you recall, the museum received a tourism relief grant of over $100,000 that we did some upgrades with. And then the Farm Credit Canada grant recently. So we're constantly working to find new grants. We're working with Grant Match to assist us, and that's going to continue. So if there's an opportunity to apply for funding to get some of these projects done, ultimately we think some projects are more geared towards certain grants, and some of those we've sort of delayed in the hopes that we can get the grant funding. But we're always looking for those types of opportunities.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report ED-011-25 as information, and that Council direct staff to allocate funds from the museum reserves to proceed with the hiring qualified contractors through the tendering process to complete the following work for 2025. 1. Replace siding on main building, enhance scope with insulation. 2. Install new roof on main building. 3. Replace doors and windows on main building. 4. Add proper heating to the Sherbrooke barn. 5. Upgrade the schoolhouse electrical lighting. 6. Replace the electrical breaker panel in main building, Sherbrooke, and Cheese Factory. 7, install security cameras on the museum grounds. And further, that council request that the 2026 to 2030 projects be included in capital budget.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to the next report from the Fire Department, Report F00525, generator replacement for the fire and OPP buildings.
Thank you, and good evening, Council. As you can see from this report, we have been presented with an unexpected opportunity to have the generator at the fire and OPP stations replaced. It's a very favorable cost-sharing arrangement between the town and the province. Our part would include a repair to the 5 electrical panels in the OPP station, and then take full advantage of the bigger generator and do some electrical upgrades to provide 100% backup power in the fire station. That would come back as a separate report because we don't have costing on that portion yet. And as noted, we will propose one more upgrade in next year's budget to take advantage of the extra space from in the form of much needed storage within the fire station. So tonight the request is to draw funds from the OPP building reserve to complete the repairs of the 5 electrical panels at the OPP station in order to support the project moving forward. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions of the report? Seeing none, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receives report F-005-25 as information, and that Council approve the transfer of $10,000 from the fire station reserve to fund the required electrical upgrades to support the installation of a new backup generator serving both the fire station and the OPP station.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Our next staff report, OP 01025, Thames Street South and Holcroft Street All-Way Stop.
Yes, good evening, Council. So as shown in the staff report, the Transportation Committee received a request for an all-way stop at Thames Street and Holcroft Street. So we had engineering staff look at, collect data at that intersection from the MTO guidance manuals, and the vehicle volumes and the sight lines afforded at that intersection do suggest that an all-way stop would be required. So I can say these assessments generally do require 3 years of collision data to be assessed as part of it, but we don't currently have access to that collision data through the MTO, but we're actively working on getting that access for future considerations. So if to proceed with an all-way stop at that intersection, the minimum procedure would be to install new oversized stop signs and have all-way tabs attached to each of the stop signs, and have stop bars and crosswalks painted. Staff also suggests that we would add red flashing beacons on the new stop signs, and as well have stop ahead signs installed, warning of the new stop sign. So the guidance suggests that the beacons be placed for 15 days on the new sign and then be removed. But I would suggest that we could do 30 days on those flashing beacons and leave the stop sign approach sign up for a 1-year period. I would suggest on those ones. We'd also make sure that there's significant communication going out in advance of the sign via print media and on social media to make the public well aware of a new stop-controlled intersection. So happy to answer any questions of council.
Thank you. Any questions of the staff report? Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. I have a couple, but you know, if I ask one, somebody else wants to ask, that's fine too. When it comes to the collision reporting information, did you reach out to the OPP to see what they had in regards to any data details that may have been reported about that intersection in the past?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. For this specifically, this intersection, we did not reach out to the OPP for that data because it's often suggested we get that from MTO, but we can't quite get it from the MTO yet. So it's kind of chasing our tail in that respect. But so while these two primary drivers for an approach or for an intersection consideration were deficient, that was satisfactory for engineering staff to make this recommendation.
If I could just follow up on that one, Deputy Mayor, through yourself. I know the collision data that the OPP have, they've changed some of the rules on how they release some of that information. They must have had some privacy concerns about some of that. So that may be not as easy to get that information as it once was. I've heard of contracts and agreements having to be entered into to get some of that stuff. So in a case like this, where if it meets other criteria to go through the steps and costs, it might be better to match the criteria that we have and proceed that way instead of getting just the collision data.
Thank you. Councillor Halleru?
Thank you, through you. So the question I have is based on concerns from the community and reports, because I know that this is not the only intersection people have been complaining about. So is this the most priority intersection in the town right now?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. I wouldn't be able to classify which one would be most important at this time. We do take all the complaints that come to the Transportation Committee, and then we'll then assess the traffic data for the various areas, whether it be for speeding complaints, those will go to OPP, for traffic enforcement to go to OPP, for intersection control, we'd look at the engineering data. So there are a few other intersections that we would be collecting data on in the near term, whether that data would then go to the OPP or come back to engineering for assessment and recommendation. But this was one that it came to the Transportation Committee earlier this year, and the data was just collected, and we can make that recommendation as soon as possible then.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Hughes?
Thank you. Yeah, so are you able to tell us how many complaints were received by the Traffic Committee in regards to this intersection?
For this was one complaint. Yeah.
Follow up with that? Thank you. Through the Deputy Mayor, now I drove up that intersection today, and I noticed that coming up Holcroft, the hill from the heading east, there's a bit of a hill there. And I noticed the sight line when you stop at the stop sign, and the white line is basically blocked by trees, bushes, and land. To bump ahead a little bit to get a clear sight line had to be not quite into the intersection, but close. Would it benefit from, instead of, where I'm going with this, I think there should be more of a, well, first of all, I'll say, would it benefit from having a clear sight line in that corner? Because I know there are other intersections where sight lines have been encroached upon by the residents by planting shrubs and trees and bushes that are impeding vision, and very difficult to see that coming until you actually creep into the intersection. But ultimately, I think a little bit further to the question that Councillor Halleru asked, I would rather see us move quicker on Clark and Culloden as opposed to a less traveled intersection such as Holcroft and Thames.
Oh, yes, through you, Deputy Mayor. That's often the first consideration that would be looked at for an intersection, would be trying to clear the sight distance to achieve the result that for the current situation. There are challenges at this intersection. So for a stop-controlled intersection, the MTO traffic guide suggests you need 130 meters of sight distance available. So it's significant tree removals and regrading that's required. That might require taking private land away as well, or constructing retaining walls to assess those sight lines. So that could be looked at from a capital project standpoint. But then it would be, we have data in front of us at this point suggesting there should be an all-way stop. Would it be a case of installing an all-way stop, then clearing sight distances, then removing an all-way stop, and just that confusion of the public? We wouldn't want to see that either. So it is a balance, the capital cost to improve it or meet the existing conditions. With regard to the Culloden Road and Clark Street intersection. That project is included for scope of work in the 2025 road needs study to assess the safety consideration and look at different options to how to correct that intersection as well. So we can look forward to seeing those recommendations for 2026 capital planning with the suggested approach for that intersection. That's the current plan as well.
Thank you. Councillor Halleru?
Yeah, thank you. So through you, Deputy Mayor. So what I'm hearing is we do have other asks in process, but then this ask can go as fast as possible because it's not part of any other major like planning.
Yes, so this ask is one that we've had the opportunity to assess the data for at this point, and do a complete assessment and make an internal recommendation based on the guidelines.
All right.
Councillor Hudson?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for the report, and I have no problem supporting this. I've traveled that road many times. When you do come up that hill and you're looking to the right, you think you can go, and somebody starts flying up that hill. And it's also where I'm trying to think what they're called, the school helpers. That's also, the crossing guards. I know that's the corner they're on. And I've seen a lot of close calls there. And I lived in that area, so I have no problem supporting it. I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens?
Thank you. Through you to Matt, you're on the hot seat, I guess. This intersection is not county, right? This would fall all underneath us, whereas the intersection out at Cloden and Clark would be considered county in that respect, would it not?
Correct. They will play a part in that.
Right. So to me, I mean, I understand, and I'm glad to hear that that one is coming forward as well for 2026 to consider. I have no problem in supporting your request for this. I agree with Councillor Hudson. You're right, coming up that hill, I think it would be wonderful to have them have to stop, and then you could see if somebody's actually there. I'm glad that we're putting a beacon on top of there, because I remember what it was like at the crossing just down further, and nobody ever stopped at that crossing. So I think having some red beacons there, I agree leaving it not for 15 days, a little bit longer to get people used to that. It's going to take them a little bit of time. But again, I think that it's well worth it to have a four-way crossing. So I'll be in support of the motion.
Councillor Halleru?
Thank you. Through you. One last question. The intersection between Thames, is it, Thames and, the one that goes across to the fire station, or is it the police? Is it Harrisview? Is that Harrisview that goes all the way? Where you turn on, you can't even see who's coming when you turn on Charles? I'm thinking that place is more priority, I think, for me to. That's a county road?
It's a county road as well, but this motion isn't about,
Okay.
about those other.
So, I know, so I'm just, I mean, I have two people who have attested to that need, and I would be comfortable with supporting it. I just was kind of, in my head, comparing it with some others that I felt. But yeah, thanks for that work, and supported.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Halleru, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report OP-011-25 as information, and that Council direct staff to implement an all-way stop at Thames Street South and Holcroft Street. And further, that bylaw 06-4327 be updated for inclusion of an all-way stop control at Thames Street South and Holcroft Street.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Moving on to our final staff report from the Treasury Department, T01025, Operating Budget Variance Report for 12 months ended December 31st, 2024, unaudited. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this report provides Council with financial overview of the town's operations for the year ending December 31st, 2024. And these results are preliminary, and they will be finalized following the completion of the 2024 for audited financial statements. So at this time, the operating results demonstrate a surplus of $1.4 million, or approximately 6% of budgeted expenditures. And this is largely due to higher than expected revenues and cost savings across several departments. So to note some of the key contributors to the operating surplus, they would include favorable variances in investment income of $672,000. So this number is inclusive of Earth dividend that we just received in May of $217,000. And we also received a one-time WSIB surplus allocation. It was a surprise. Sorry, something happened?
I think the lights were flickering.
Yes, well, yeah. So yes, we received a surplus allocation from WSIB in the amount of $172,000. So we, of course, did not budget for that. So that contributed into the surplus. Supplementary taxation, property taxation was over budget by almost $80,000. So we've received some growth money. And community services revenues, particularly membership revenues, were up $44,000. And additionally, several expense categories were under budget, including program delivery, training conferences, fuel, contracted services, and public works materials. Town also, last year we sold 12 acres of industrial land on our industrial park for $5.5 million. So these proceeds were transferred to reserves to support the future capital expenditures such as MERC. So that predominantly went to the MERC reserve. Also in 2024, we managed 61 capital projects with total revised budget of $7.2 million. Of these, 35 projects were completed, 9 remain in progress, and 17 were deferred to 2025. So completed projects included infrastructure, equipment, facility upgrades, and overall they came under budget. And projects in progress and those that not yet started have been carried forward into 2025, and they all supported by existing funding in reserves and infrastructure grants. So in July, staff will bring another report to council upon completion of the audited financial statements, in which recommendations for the confirmed surplus allocations will be proposed. That concludes my report, and I will be more than happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the report? Seeing none, Councillor Halleru.
Thank you, Irina, for that nice report. It was very easy to understand. Moved by myself, Councillor Halleru, seconded by Councillor Vekun-Bosens, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report C-021-25 as information.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Moving on to correspondence and resolution, we have the Kiwanis Harvest Market. Any discussion on the request? Seeing none, Councillor Halleru, that is your motion as well.
Thank you. Moved by myself, Councillor Halleru, seconded by Councillor Vekun-Bosens, that the council receive the operating budget variance T-0. Where are we?
So it's number 22.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't take that one. That the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from Kiwanis Club of Ingersoll as information, And that council approve the Kiwanis Clubs of Ingersoll's request to waive fees for services and equipment for the Kiwanis Ingersoll Harvest Fest being held at the Ingersoll Cheese Museum Centennial Park.
Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Hughes.
Just a quick thank you to the Kiwanis Club for continuing this great tradition and excellent community building event. It's always well looked forward to, and it is excellent that this is continuing. Always happy to support that.
Thank you. Councillor Halleru.
And yeah, just to say that we keep coming up with this as an optional ask. I think we should have a long-term agreement with Kiwanis for doing what they do. And just saying, yes, this is something that puts us on the map every time, and I think it's worth it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Moving on to the correspondence from Township of Zora, speeding, distracted driving, and impaired driving. Any discussion on the motion, on the correspondence in the package? So I had requested that this was pulled from the consent agenda. I had an opportunity to speak to Councillor Crystal Finch from Zora and get an understanding of kind of where this came from and the intent of working collaboratively to address road safety, not just in Zora, but across Oxford County. And to my knowledge, the Oxford County in March, Zora, Woodstock, and several others have kind of come on to agree to participate in a county-wide approach to Vision Zero and rural road safety. So I think if there is a collaborative approach to road safety happening, it would be too bad for Ingersoll not to be part of that conversation. So I had hoped we could kind of discuss if Ingersoll would be interested in playing that role. But I also had an opportunity to speak with Matt, just trying to understand what that would mean from a staff perspective. So if Matt wouldn't mind speaking to Vision Zero and kind of the opportunity to participate in this partnership that's being built.
Yes, absolutely. So this Vision Zero kind of relates to considering road design towards zero traffic fatalities and serious injuries, and not just away from zero collisions. So it's more design elements that we try to meet in current road design, but often comes down to the pricing of a project rather than the safety elements of a project. The rural road safety program, this is often a bigger problem in the rurals, where you have wide open right-of-ways and driver error becomes a factor with increased speed. So you can kind of reverse engineer those roads where you're driving an 80 road, but you have that big hump that you lose your stomach on. Maybe it should be a 60 road, but the right-of-way is huge, so are you actually going to drive 60? So it's how you create these proper designs and these efforts. So it'd be absolutely beneficial to be part of the program countywide. Minimal implementation for the urban centers with these ideas, but we do have rural roads with our secondary plan that we've now inherited. So benefit to getting through this together. From the staffing aspect, it's not that great of a challenge that we'd like to consider staying up to speed with these initiatives anyways from a road design perspective, so it's well worth it.
Thank you. Any, Councillor Halleru?
I think I like that you pointed that out, and thank you for having us discuss it, because we have in the recent few months seen how vital it is to have road safety on our rural roads, especially with the school bus accidents that we've received. So I think this is very simple. If it's not going to cost us too much, why not, catch up with the trend?
Councillor Hughes?
Yeah, and that's basically, through you, Deputy Mayor, that's my question to staff, and I'm not sure who would answer this. What would be the financial implications of coming on board with this, as Matt alluded to, depending on the design cost for the construction, but is there any other unforeseen costs that we would be potentially looking at?
Yes, I don't see any substantial additional costs that would be beyond education and training that we'd already be undertaking. That you need to know what you don't know in engineering, that we want to make sure that we're at the table understanding these things. So it'd be minimal.
Thank you. I'll add too that the motion passed at County Council requested that county staff bring a report back. So we'll be able to kind of benefit from the information they bring back, I believe. Any further questions? Seeing none, Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from Stewart Township regarding speeding, distracted driving, and impaired driving as information, and that the Town of Ingersoll staff be directed to work with Oxford County and all area municipalities on the feasibility of implementing a long-term Vision Zero policy and the Good Roads Rural Road Safety Strategy across all of Oxford, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Oxford County and all area municipalities.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That's carried. The next correspondence, Oxford County Pride, the Pride flag request. Councillor Bowman?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hudson. Did the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive Oxford County Pride Committee's request to raise the Pride flag as information, and that Council approved the raising of the progressive Pride flag on May 30th, 2025 in Dewan Park for the month of June, and further that staff be directed to photograph or record the flag raising to be shared with the Oxford County Pride Committee through social media.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
I think I remember correctly that there was an ask for money, was there not?
There is a sponsorship request included in the letter. On the second page, it outlines the sponsor levels.
Does staff, if I may, through you to staff, does anybody remember what we did last year for our sponsorship? If I'm not mistaken, I think it was platinum. And if that's the case, if I could suggest a friendly amendment, or I could move an amendment. I will so move that we sponsor in a platinum level of $1,000 towards the Pride, Oxford County Pride Committee.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that amendment? Sorry, Councillor Hudson. So any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, the amendment's carried. Back to the original motion, any discussion? Councillor Hughes.
Yes, just hypothetical. In light of the new list that has been a holidays list that has been brought forward by the DEI committee, I know there are a few other heritages that are celebrated through the month of June. If there was a request to fly another flag for part of that month, would it replace the progressive Pride flag, or would that not be approved?
It's a very tricky hypothetical question, Councillor Hughes. I don't know if staff want to.
Only on Tuesdays when the snow flies in a westerly direction is the answer. No. I don't think it would replace any flags. It might be that there'd be a subsequent flag placed. We'd have to look at that, though, with the request that we would get in. Given what we've done with DEI, I don't know how they would perceive that, but maybe I'll let the clerk speak to that.
Sorry, and just to chime in, council does not have a policy, and so all of these requests come before council. So that would be at your discretion at that time upon receipt of a request to fly a flag in Dewan Park.
Thank you. Councillor Halleroo.
I was just going to say there's no current flag requests that we're seeing, and I think we all are aware of the major ones that happen across the year, and if anything comes up, I think it's on a case-by-case. I once asked if those regular yearly flags could actually be known to councils, and I was told that they had to be requested every year, so everybody gets a chance, and requests come in, and then we consider them.
Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
I know that we normally have done this at 12 o'clock, and seeing that the majority of us work, could I request that maybe, I know it's a Friday, but could we do it either Thursday at 5 o'clock, or could we do it Friday at 5 o'clock instead of, so that it gives everybody who's working an opportunity. I know staff maybe don't want to stick around until that time on a Friday, but I'm just wondering if we could look at a more amenable time for all of us on council if we wanted to participate.
I think the timing on that was requested by Pride because they were doing them in several locations. So.
But they're not actually, I did read that they're not actually attending, which is why they asked for us to video record it or take a picture. So I'm just thinking that it probably doesn't matter to them what time we do it in that respect, and maybe a doodle poll could be sent to us in that respect. I don't know. Maybe not everybody wants to attend, but I know it'd be a little bit more amenable if it was in the evening, considering work. That's all. So,
Councillor Hughes?
Yes, thank you. Through you, I'm just reading through the request. It doesn't say anything about noon. It just says May 30th at Dewan Park for the month of June.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Our next piece of correspondence, Earth AGM notice. Councillor Hudson, this is your motion.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll received the correspondence from Earth as information, and that Council designate Michael Graves as Ingersoll's representative for the purpose of casting a vote at the Earth Annual General Meeting, and further that staff be directed to advise Earth of the following members' attendance at the Earth AGM on May 29th at 7 p.m. Councillor Rick Hughes, Councillor Mike Bowman, and Councillor Khadija Halaru.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none? Oh, sorry, Councillor Hughes.
Yes, thank you. I'm presuming the mayor will not be back by then?
Sorry, what's
I
the
think
date?
it's
Thursday, the 29th?
We'll be back.
That's true. So I don't know if we should include him in that list, in which case that would make quorum, and
does it matter?
doesn't matter.
Does it? I was just
Does
going to
it
ask.
matter?
Does it matter?
Oh, does it matter?
If I may, I'm tentatively at county council for the mayor on the 28th, so I'm assuming that adjustment coming back, even if he is here, is probably not an easy one. Curtis could speak more to that than me, but I wouldn't want to sign him up for something that make him feel obligated to go there on his first day back.
I was just wondering, and just asking that question. It's
Fair enough.
Do we want to add him tentative on his agreement, or?
Councillor Van Kootenbossen?
I would say that we should add him. We can always drop him off, and if it's giving quorum, does it matter if you're not sitting all at the same table? You're in a public space. I mean, we've all been in public spaces before. Yes, we'd have quorum, but if we're not sitting at the same tables, I don't know. I'm asking the clerk or the CAO just to make sure.
I've actually never attended the Earth AGM, so if you're forwarding the business of council, then it does matter, but I'm not sure with Michael as your voting representative.
Yeah, so we often encourage council not to go in settings of a quorum out of an abundance of caution. But as long as you're, as the clerk aptly points out, as long as you're not forwarding the business of council, you can. There are times at social events where you just can't stop that, right? You're going to be in attendance. So we encourage you not to forward the business of council. So you have to be careful to ensure that when you're at an AGM, we know usually ahead of time what they're going to talk about. If there was anything that needed to be considered by council, it would probably be brought forward as a special report to council, and you would consider them accordingly. Or if something came up, then I'm there that I could say, I think we need to bring that forward to a future meeting of council. So I don't think you're really going against anything by having a quorum there. But I don't know, I was just trying to look to see if Brian had sent anything to say specifically sign me up for this. So I don't see where he did. So it might well be that he's worried about how he'll be when he gets back, so he might have specifically not signed up for that. If you want to be cautious and respect him, put his name on the list as a tentative, and then just ensure that we follow those rules and not push anyone to talk about furthering the business of council. And if he decides not to attend, then you don't have to have that worry. I think you'd be in good stead to do that. Also, Brian isn't here, so if you guys want to sign him up for stuff and make him do things that he normally doesn't do, this is your chance, so. If he's watching.
Councillor Halleran?
Thank you, through you. I just wondered, is the deputy mayor attending?
I already have a commitment that night. I'm
Okay,
not available.
okay. Because, I mean, in fact, he is not here, and I do believe that she is representing him, and if she's not able to go and she accepts that the three assigned people go, I think that the mayor trusts that she can handle those affairs in his absence. So I would hate to be assigned something and not come back to be well enough to attend it. And I know he will be jet lagged coming from Asia, so I think we should just honor the chair at this point and respect that.
Councillor Bowman?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just for his sake, you can put the mayor down, and then if he is not able to go, I will go. If he wants to go, then I will back down.
So we'll need an amendment to add Mayor Petrie as an alternative on that motion. Councillor Bowman, will you
Yeah,
so
so
move?
also make the motion for that, the amendment.
Seconder?
Seconded.
Councillor Hughes. Discussion on the amendment? So I think Councillor Bowman was saying if Mayor Petrie wants to go, Councillor Bowman will not go, so there would be 3 people. Correct? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. All in favor on the amendment? None opposed, that's carried. Back to the original motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. We're almost there. Councillor Halleran, if you could take us into committee of the whole, please.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I missed one, the petition, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Halleran, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the petition regarding planning application OP 24-13-6 and ZN 6-24-06 as information.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Okay, now Councillor Halleran, please.
Thank you, through you, my Deputy Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Halleran, seconded by Councillor Boston, that the mover have leave to introduce and go into committee of the whole on the following bylaws. Bylaw 25-5389 for the adoption of 2025 estimated operating and capital expenditures. 2, Bylaw 25-5390 to provide for the levy and collection of special charges in respect for the business improvement area through taxation of the year 2025. 3, Bylaw 25-5391 to dedicate and assume 1-foot reserve on Plan 41M-375 David Street. 4, Bylaw 25-5392 to amend the BIA appointment bylaw. 5, Bylaw 25-5393 to add or remove committee members. And 6, Bylaw 25-5394 May confirmation bylaw. Council and Committee of the Whole, Deputy Mayor Wilson in the chair. On motion, the bylaws are now accepted as circulated.
Thank you. Anyone wish to discuss anything in the bylaws? Seeing none. Councillor Van Kooten-Bossis. Oh my goodness. Councillor Van Kooten-Bossis, rise out of the Committee of the Whole, please. Oh, sorry, we did not, yes, sorry. Yes, we do. I'm trying to get out of here.
I know you are.
Sorry, my apologies. No discussion. All in favor? Thank you. None opposed, that's carried. Now Councillor Van Kooten-Bossis, please.
Perfect. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the committee do now rise out of committee of the whole.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Councillor Bowman for the third reading, please.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that bylaws 25-5389 to 25-5394 be now read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed, as this constitutes the third reading of the bylaws.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. All in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Councillor Hudson.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll adjourn the May 12th, 2025 regular meeting of council at 9:15 p.m.
Thank you. Any discussion? Are you sure? Okay. All in favor? None opposed? That's carried. The meeting is adjourned.
Okay, I was like 2 hours